All right. Good evening, everybody. And well, if I can have quiet in the room, please. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Thursday, March 5th regular meeting of the Boulder City Council. So we see lots of people in the room, which is super exciting. Thanks for joining us. We do have fire rules, which say that everyone who's in the room, unless they're actively speaking to us, needs to be in a seat. So if you don't have a seat, we do have overflow rooms downstairs where you can sit and watch the proceedings. But we can't have people leaning against the walls or standing in the aisles. So everyone, if there's not a seat available, take a seat if there is one. And if there's not, if you would kindly move downstairs to the. And I'll just give everybody a minute to file out downstairs. All right. Okay, everyone. I see only a couple stragglers. If you can just make sure that you have found a seat or head to the overflow room downstairs. Okay, great. Thanks so much. So I'm going to go ahead and call us to order. And Elisha, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you. And good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We'll start tonight's roll call, as usual, with Councilmember Adams,
Present.
Benjamin,
Present.
Mayor Brockett,
Present.
Councilmember Kaplan,
Present.
Marquis,
Here.
Shuhart,
Here.
Spear,
Present.
Wallach,
Here.
and Mayor Pro Tem Weiner.
Present.
Mayor, we have our quorum.
Thanks so much. And now I'd like to request a motion to amend the agenda to add item 3J, which is consideration of a motion to adopt Resolution 1377, appointing the external audit firm to examine the financial accounts of the City of Boulder for the year ending December 31st, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. That's unanimous. So the agenda has been amended. So we're now going to go to open comments. So Elisha, if we can have the participation guidelines read, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'd like to share with you tonight our public participation at City Council meeting guidelines. Thank you for your participation at the meeting tonight. We ask that you abide by the rules of decorum found in the Boulder Revised Code. This is including that participants are required to sign up to speak using the name they are commonly known by. Individuals must display their whole name before being allowed to speak online. Only audio testimony is permitted during open comment. No attendee shall disrupt, disturb, or otherwise impede the orderly conduct of any council meeting in a manner that obstructs the business of the meeting. This also includes failing to obey any lawful order of the presiding officer to leave the meeting room or refrain from addressing the council. All remarks and testimonies shall be limited to matters related to city business. No participant shall make threats or use other forms of intimidation against any person. And lastly, obscenity, other epithets based on race, gender, or religion, and other speech and behavior that will disrupt or otherwise impede the meeting will not be tolerated. Thank you again for joining us, and thank you for listening.
Thanks so much, Elisha. All right, everyone's going to have 2 minutes to speak, and I will be strict about those time limits in the interest of fairness. I'll call 3 names at a time and tell whether people are in person or virtual. So our first 3 speakers are Sonia Lunder in person, Paul Vokes virtually, and Aaron Nyer in person. So Sonia.
Hello.
Thank you for having me today. My name is Sonia Lunder. I've lived in Boulder since 2007 and intend to make this my long-term home. I'm speaking today about the renewal of the flock surveillance camera contract. I'm concerned because we're living in very dark times with the Trump administration's effort to target our immigrant friends and neighbors and attack our fundamental civil rights. Their willingness to break the law is made even worse by a new and unprecedented surveillance tools and a complicit tech industry that's largely willing to enable them. Our courts have not yet been able to uphold the law and offer speedy and decisive protection. While some people in Boulder feel safer when they see a surveillance camera like Flock, I believe that those people don't fully understand their capability to harm us and our community. My preference is for no surveillance cameras in the city that I call home. However, I'll use my remaining minute to restate the available and less harmful alternatives for the city to consider. There are city-owned systems that would let Boulder keep its data on its own servers and shield it from subpoena power. Denver has chosen to contract with Axon, which offers no national sharing of network data. The city retains full ownership with a 21-day retention period, and there are penalties for contract violations. I support local state Senate Amabile's bill that would require warrants, a 4-day retention period for data, and annual public reporting of data that's gathered. And I would note that the flock contract is not in compliance with this goal. With all of the scary things that are out of our control right now, it's inexcusable for the city to be paying for a technology that puts me and my neighbors at greater risk of harm. I'm asking the council to pause the flock contract auto renewal, to bring this decision to a public vote, and to establish clear and lasting safety policies when they enter any new partnership with a surveillance company. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, and folks, I'm afraid no applause is allowed. We need to quiet in the chambers just so that everybody has an equal chance to speak and be heard. Great. Now we have Paul Vokes virtually, Aaron Nair in person, and Becky Hardy in person.
All right. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Paul Vokes, a resident of Boulder for 23 years. My concern tonight is over the city's process for approving property redevelopment. Redevelopment is key to Boulder's continuing vitality. The more we envision new uses for our land, and the more we implement important city goals, especially affordable housing, the more we must consider replacing existing structures. But if the existing structure that is being replaced was built more than 50 years ago, the approval process grinds to a halt. Because the Landmarks Board is required to study whether to designate these middle-aged buildings as historic landmarks. If it's a landmark, the building cannot be replaced. I'm a member of a church that wants to repurpose its 1960s building and surrounding property in hopes of meeting housing and other community needs. So I've seen the process fairly close up. The members and staff of the Landmarks Board are smart and conscientious. But given the high number of unremarkable buildings that went up all over Boulder in the 60s and 70s, and the likely rise in redevelopment proposals in our future, the Landmarks Board may well face an untenable backlog. This will needlessly hinder redevelopment proposals, some of which would fit beautifully with the city's broader goals. But that's a consideration the Landmarks Board is not even allowed to entertain. My request is simply this: please consider a more efficient, more holistic approach to assessing redevelopment proposals, an approach that is allowed to consider the future alongside the past. And finally, I'd like to commend the council for the tolerance and civility you have shown over the past several months during these open comment sessions. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we go to Aaron Nair in person, then Becky Hardy in person, and Natasha Rigg virtually. Is Aaron Nair here? We'll come back to him. Is Becky Hardy here? You turn on the mic, please. There we go.
Okay, thanks. Whew. My name is Becky Hardy. I've lived in South Boulder for 35 years,
And I'm speaking as an aging person and a physical therapist. And I hate to break it to everybody, but we're all aging. And Boulder doesn't always like to recognize that. I feel like we're all young and everything's made for the young. But it's better than the alternative. So I want to speak in favor of South Boulder Rec Center. It's not only a place to play and exercise, but it's such a community. And since I've retired, I've found these are all my friends. I mean, I've met so many people there. And I want to say, knowing personally and professionally, that exercise, mobility, keep moving is the path to having a quality of life, not just a life. And I just can't say enough about how great it feels to be a swimmer. And our swimming pools are crowded. And someone talks about consolidating our pools in Boulder. Well, there's a lot of people here who love to swim, and it's hard to find the lap lanes. And as an older person trying to fight my way, I'd probably just be closed off. So I thank you for your consideration of helping our South Boulder Rec Center stay open, stay viable, and even have some improvements. Make sure we have a swimming pool, a gym, and a basketball court for our young people. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now we go to Natasha Rigg online and Elise Edson online, and then Cormac Godfrey in person.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thanks. Good evening. My name is Natasha Rigg, and I am a South Boulder resident of 19 years. I want to begin by expressing my strong support for funding the South Boulder Recreation Center, including the pool and gymnasium, which is relied upon by our community in a variety of ways, including the Fairview swim team. But that's not actually why I'm here tonight. I'm here to urge this council to cancel our contract with Flock Safety. Boulder has roughly 12,000 Latino residents, 11% of our city. 3 of our 30 Flock cameras are clustered at the Home Depot on 29th Street, which is a known day labor or gathering point. That's 10% of our entire Flock network at a single location. In a political climate where the Supreme Court has now permitted apparent ethnicity as grounds for an immigration stop, our cameras are not neutral. When surveillance data can reach a federal government that has openly embraced racial profiling, that data becomes a tool of that profiling, regardless of BPD's intentions. We also know Flock cannot be trusted. Their CEO lied to Denver City Council about federal contracts. A secret Border Patrol pilot program was later revealed. In Loveland, an ATF agent used the local police Flock account to run ICE searches, circumventing local agreements entirely. Our neighbors are acting. Denver dropped Flock 3 days ago. Longmont paused all data sharing. Boulder's own Senator Judy Amabile is leading bipartisan legislation to regulate this exact technology. Boulder should not wait to be regulated into doing the right thing. A genuine sanctuary city commitment means our infrastructure must match our values. And this contract costs $75 to $100K per year. That would be far better invested, if I may say so, in the South Boulder Rec Center. I ask that you please vote to cancel this contract. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thanks very much. And just a reminder, folks, to have quiet in the audience. And now we got Elise Edson online, and then Cormac Godfrey and Suzanne Bott in person.
Hello, my name is Elise Edson. I'm a South Boulder mom, joining virtually with my 2-year-old daughter, Naomi. Thank you, council and staff, for your service to our community. And I'd like to voice our family's support for keeping the essential amenities of the South Boulder Rec Center. Our rec center is where our seniors do water therapy, where our kids learn to swim, and where working families find affordable, joyful community. We're asking to keep what we have: the pool, the basketball court, the gymnasium, the gathering space our neighbors have relied on for generations. And speaking of age, 50 years old isn't old for a building. And in fact, many of us and our neighbors are older than that. So please don't let a boiler failure and overdue maintenance be the reason we lose these amenities and our pool. Every YMCA in the country has had to go through this. And here in this room tonight, we have some of the most brilliant minds in the country and in our city. So I know we can figure this out together. We're a young family. We want to stay in Boulder, and it just becomes harder when essential community amenities disappear. This community is worth the fix, and Naomi and all our children, they are worth investing in. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The rest of our speakers are in person. The next three are Cormac Godfrey, Suzanne Bott, and Susan Einberger. You want to
Good
turn that?
evening, fellow Boulderites, council members. My name is Cormac Godfrey. I'm an undergraduate student at the Aerospace College of Engineering at CU, and I own and operate a small repair shop in North Boulder. During my childhood, I had the opportunity to live in a small London borough called Rains Park, near Wimbledon. As you may know, the United Kingdom is one of the most surveilled countries on the planet. London in particular has the highest number of cameras per square kilometre, nearly 400 in all of Europe. That's one camera for every 10 people living in the city. As a child walking to school through busy London streets, you were constantly aware of the cameras on the poles. The anxious feeling of being watched, stared at, followed by strangers you'd never know in the hopes of whatever you decided to do today was something they didn't disapprove of. An older me living in the countryside would hear of classmates who'd deface, damage, or destroy surveillance cameras in an act of rebellion, a small gesture of personal freedom. It is ironic then that I find myself in the land of the free, debating the merits of mass surveillance. My classmates at the time were not so lucky to have the right to free speech. They were not so lucky as to be able to move countries to a land that better aligned with their personal views. And likewise, many of the most vulnerable members of our community also fit that description. The driving factor behind crime is inequality. A lack of opportunity drives people to make the choices their best selves would never have made. In an effort to crack down on crime, we turn to prosecution, not support. We would prefer to push the crime away, not to solve it. Council members, I urge you to reconsider the automatic renewal contract with Flock Safety and any other mass surveillance systems. They are a fundamental invasion of privacy, support the persecution of minority populations, aim to restrict the free speech of peoples, and do not solve crime, simply move it around. Flock in particular has proven that it is unreliable, deceptive, and profit-driven, selling personal freedoms for cash. They are fundamentally un-American and ineffective. As long as extreme inequality exists, crime will exist. I ask you directly, would you be comfortable with a stranger in an
Your
unmarked
time is
van
up, but
filming
thank you
your
for
every
your
move on a daily
testimony.
basis? What about
Sir,
children eating
your
lunch
time
with
is up. If you can please stop speaking. Thank you. All right, our next three speakers are Suzanne Bott, Susan Einberger, and Matthew Duffy.
Hello, my name is Suzanne Bott. I live in South Boulder, about a 20-minute walk from the South Boulder Rec Center. I'm 71 years old. I have arthritis in way too many joints, and I swim several times a week at the South swimming pool to keep those joints healthy, to keep me active, and doing the things I love for the long term. I do not swim at the East Center because I'm a backstroker and that ceiling does not work for me. North is our most heavily used facility, and so the idea to me of consolidating pools doesn't seem real viable because we're just going to keep funneling more people into the same resources, going to get very crowded. So when the South is closed, I get in my car and I drive to Louisville to swim. That's not sustainable, and it's not in keeping with our goals of carbon reduction and walkable communities. The South Rec Center, with its gym, with its pool, with its pickleball courts and its classes, it's really important to our community, to the kids, to us seniors, to the swim teams, to everybody. And I just ask you, please, we would like to have continued access to that into the long term. I also just want to take a few seconds to put my support to everyone who's here tonight to talk about the Flock cameras. I am also very concerned about that, and I recently wrote to you about that really, really important matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll go to Susan Einberger, Matthew Duffy, and Jeff Henke.
Hello, my name is Susan Einberger. I live in North Boulder, and I'm here to tell you how important South Boulder Rec Center is to the entire Boulder community. I was born and raised here. I've seen many changes in the community, in particular the loss of swimming pools. In 1993, the City of Boulder Housing Authority bought the site of Highmar Swim and Tennis to build the Highmar Senior Apartments. The pool was paved over. In October 1999, Boulder Parks and Rec Advisory Board and City Council approved the purchase of Angel Pines Country Club, which included a 25-meter pool. The pool was paved over. The redevelopment focused on golf, even though in the planning documents it was noted, quote, if the pool is being eliminated and no replacement is built, the pool void is made greater. And quote, swimming needs are not being met. See the Valmont Master Plan. This was 26 years ago. There is no pool at Valmont today. In 2018, the City of Boulder approved the development of the Academy at Mapleton Hill, and another pool was lost. This was the site of a public warm water pool for therapy and swim lessons. In 2023, Boulder Housing Partners bought the site of Raleigh Sport Health and Fitness Club to build Raleigh Flats Apartments. The 25-yard lap pool was paved over. The city has lost 4 pools. The city has blessed the losing of 4 pools. It feels like an attack on pools. South Boulder is not just another pool. It is one of the few remaining. It is the only pool that the city will let my kids have a swim meet at. And when we can't practice there, we go to Broomfield. Thank you, City of Broomfield, for letting us have home meets there.
Thank you. All right. Now we'll go to Matthew Duffy and then Jeff Henke and Pam Moore.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for your service. I'm here to speak about the problem of flock cameras in Boulder, as many other people here are today. I was looking at this DFlock site the other night that shows where all the flock cameras are in a city. And I found it really interesting to note that the highest concentration of flock cameras in the city are at Home Depot. 1/10, 3 out of the 30-ish cameras in Boulder are at Home Depot. And many, maybe most of us here know that Home Depots come under scrutiny for working closely with ICE to terrorize and kidnap people. I don't know about you all, but I don't feel safe in this city if the most marginalized are being threatened by kidnappers and ICE. The Supreme Court has ruled that ICE can use racial profiling, and Palantir and Flock, I get my techno-fascist companies confused sometimes, but Flock has a track record of lying and working closely with this crazy, insane fascist administration. So we should give them no faith. We shouldn't trust them at all. It just makes sense. It's a bottom line that we should not work with Flock. And Boulder should take a stand in solidarity with the rest of the country to divest from fascism and from a surveillance state that is targeting the most vulnerable and marginalized. Thank you for your time. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. Now we'll go to Jeff Henke, Pam Moore, and Ken Bytel.
Hello. Hi, I'm Jeff Henke. I've been a resident of Boulder for 9 years now, and I'm also here tonight in solidarity with my neighbors to speak against the flock cameras and any other form of mass surveillance in our city. As our country moves into a more authoritarian direction, it is more important than ever to eliminate mass surveillance in our communities. We have seen in Minneapolis and around the country how easily the federal government can overstep, track, and monitor people who protest or oppose those in power. So how can we, in any good conscience, have Flock automated license plate readers track our movements and habits, store that data, and share it with private companies and law enforcement, all while knowing the danger it possesses and the direction this is headed? The writing is on the wall. Immigrants, activists, abortion providers, journalists, and marginalized groups face the highest risk when location data is stored and shared. Systems like this also violate our Fourth Amendment protection against warrantless surveillance. I implore Boulder to be on the right side of history and the contracts with Flock and remove these cameras from the city. Thank you for your time, and also keep the South Boulder Rec Center open. And I have a letter from Senator Ron Wyden to the FTC in regards to Flock that I would like to submit to the City Council, if that is okay.
Thanks. You can go over to the city clerk and hand that over. Thank you for your testimony. Now we'll go to Pam Moore, Ken Bytel, and John Boylan.
Hi, I'm Pam Moore. I've got my goggles on to let you know how serious I am about wanting to advocate for the South Boulder Rec Center. Thank you so much for investing to keep it open this summer. I moved to Boulder in 2008 as an avid triathlete and have relied on our rec centers ever since. My husband and I bought our first home in South Boulder in 2010, moved down the street in 2020. Our kids learned to swim at Boulder Rec Centers. And since 2019, they have swum with Mesa, which has historically been based in South Boulder. My husband serves on the board, and we see firsthand how the South Boulder pool is so integral to the team. Last summer, when the pool's future was very precarious, practices moved to North and East Boulder Rec Centers. And instead of our kids and all the kids biking or walking to practice, families were driving across town. We were juggling very complicated carpools with different kids at different rec centers at different times and different nights. There were longer commutes, added stress, and that is just not sustainable for many working families. The South Boulder Rec Center is a lot more than just a gym. It is a third space where kids, including athletes from Mesa and from Fairview High School, can be social and off their screens in a safe environment. And I think everybody knows that kids really need that, especially now. A lot of families choose to live in South Boulder for the walkability, the bikeability, and amenities like the South Boulder Rec Center. Our property values have risen quite a bit. As far as I understand, they have outpaced the property values in other neighborhoods in South Boulder. And keeping the South Boulder Rec Center local would only add to that, and it would help align with the city's 15-minute neighborhood vision. I think I'm out of time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, now we go to Ken Bytel, John Boylan, and Andrew Wethington.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
If you can pull the mic up to you, please. Pull the mic up to you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. As our nation prepares to celebrate its 250th birthday this summer, we are pleased to launch an engineering challenge to reimagine the future of the South Boulder Rec Center. Today, we announced the South Boulder Rec Center Enhanced Engineering Challenge. We've invited Colorado's world-class engineering firms and universities and community members to explore what might be possible for the future of this much-loved facility. The announcement was shared with more than 12,000 Boulder area folks today, along with the press, and the challenge will explore two paths. First, extending the life of the center. We'll look at net zero heat pumps for the building and pool. And then the second option is, what would it look like if we were to find an engineering scenario that would allow a new 100-year facility to be built? The co-chair of the steering committee Yvonne is a big fan of what they modernized at the Louisville Rec Center just a few years back. And this is her words on what they did there in 2018. Louisville, the pool has a kids area, water slides, a lazy river, warm water wellness, lap pool, cold plunge, hot tub, huge cardio and weight area, indoor track, preschool, childcare. Yvonne's list goes on and on. It really does. Tonight, I'd like to respectfully invite city staff and council members to join the Engage Engineering Challenge Steering Committee. Together, we'll build the framework for the challenge with submissions starting May 4th and the results announced at the annual South Boulder 4th of July party coming up this summer. Thank you for your leadership
Thank you.
and supporting South Boulder.
Thanks for your testimony.
Thank you.
All right, now we go to John Boylan, Andrew Wethington, and I believe Aaron Nyer is now present. We'll go to him after Andrew.
Hello, Council. Thanks very much for letting me talk to you. Hey. I'm here also to talk about SBRC, South Boulder Rec Center. As you've heard many of the others talk about, it's more than just a rec center. It's a hub. It's where we go to meet new people. We meet old friends. We hang out. It's more than an exercise facility. It's an anchor. It's a shelter for the area's schools. And it's just a great place to be. We've been told repeatedly through written as well as verbal comments that it's at the end of its life. We've tried to get data to support that, to prove it. We have not been able to. I'd like to ask you to prove it. Says who, based on what, where are the data? We haven't seen any of that. So the focal point, the reason for the paddles is the pool, for me anyway, as well as other things. I go there almost daily and work out. But swimming is an exceptional way to get fit, to stay fit for most any age. I think you know that. This is nothing new. Almost any ability. Swimming is one of the least impactful in terms of damage to your body forms of exercise that you can have. It's maybe one of the most beneficial that is even possible. South Boulder Rec Center needs a pool, doesn't need a field house. It doesn't need to be a gold-plated pool. Some might think that that's what we're asking for, but it's not. So thank you very much for listening, and go South Boulder Rec Center. Thanks.
Thanks. All right, quiet in the audience, please. Quiet, please. All right, now we're going to go to Andrew Wethington, then Aaron Nyer, and then Jeff Price.
Good evening, Council. My name is Andrew. I'm a graduate of CU and a longtime contributor to the Boulder community as well as its municipal tax fund. I am here tonight to talk flock, as one of my favorite Boulderites likes to say. So flock reps will claim that their cameras are secure, yet a quick trip down the YouTube rabbit hole was enough for me to find several videos detailing the exact process necessary to digitally commandeer just about any flock device. Shout out to Ben Jordan. If you haven't and are concerned about this issue, check him out. I'm not a tech junkie, I'm a carpenter, and yet I am fully confident that if I were a bad actor, I could gain access to just about any of these devices. Now, there's also plenty of evidence that these cameras have already been used for really nefarious purposes. In Eccles County, Georgia, a sheriff's secretary used these cameras to stalk residents. In Brazelton, Georgia, a police chief used flock to stalk and harass residents. The cameras have also been implicated in ICE searches in Colorado, Denver, Loveland, and Windsor specifically, and I have real concerns about them being used to track women who travel from out of state to access abortion care where it's not legal in their state. There's a reason the Denver City Council universally agreed to cancel their flock contract, a decision that was later reinforced by the city auditor. Denver Mayor Mike Johnson went behind the council's back in an attempt to continue the contract despite public outrage, and I can guarantee you that he will not be serving another term. I urge you not to follow in his misguided footsteps. Please stop wasting money on surveillance. Let's save the South Boulder Rec.
Thank you. All right, quiet folks, please. All right, now we got Aaron Nyer, Jeff Price, and David Becker.
Thank you all. Apologies for my delay. I thought it started at 6. So I'm also here to talk about Flock, as I know a lot of other people are. I appreciate you all for reading the letter that the Human Relations Commission sent. It's something that a lot of people in the community are caring about, and I think it's really important. It's not just the public safety issue. Absolutely, as Andrew pointed out, that information is being shared with ICE, and I know our contract says otherwise, but Flock has consistently demonstrated that they are not true to their word, and I think it's really important to look at that. So it's a clear public safety issue around how this affects our marginalized communities. It's also an issue of solidarity. Right now, there are a lot of cities who are taking a stand and saying they're not going to participate in things like this that are moving us towards a surveillance state and participating in the creation of the kind of surveillance state that we really don't want. And I think that we have a lot of good values here in Boulder, and I think it's really important that our public-private partnerships reflect that, especially when it comes to how we're building relationships with surveillance companies. When we store our data up on the cloud, even if they say it won't be shared, that allows an easy vector of attack for hostile agencies or other hostile entities. And so I would suggest that if we're going to use surveillance technology, we find a company, there's Leonardo, there's a few other good ones that I've heard of, that allow for us to have the surveillance, have the ALPRs, but have the data stored on premises, which means that we actually get to have control over that. And at a time where our country is in the state it is, I think it's really important. So I would say we should take an honest look at this contract with Flock and urge NURIA to either not renew it or to quickly phase out of it as needed. And take an honest look at whether we can put into place principles about how we build relationships with surveillance companies. And I think just in general, how we build relationships with public-private partnerships. But I think putting these principles into policy is going to be really key to ensure that these partnerships, especially around surveillance technologies, reflects the values that we actually hold dear in Boulder. So thank you all so much for your time and attention.
Thank you. Now we'll go to Jeff Price, David Becker, and Yoella Lakritz.
Good evening, council members. My name is Jeff Price. I've lived in South Boulder since 1998. I'm here to speak on a perspective that most council members are fortunate not to have, being a senior citizen. There are only a couple of what I call friendly physical activities for seniors: biking and the quintessential exercise, swimming. Water is very forgiving. It not only doesn't aggravate arthritis, joint and muscle pain, it assists from the onset of these maladies, in addition to providing cognitive benefits as well. The senior swimmers in South Boulder are very grateful to have a pool in their neighborhood that is so close to home, a walk or a few minutes drive. A swim in the morning sets one up for the rest of the day, unlike any other activity. The city of Boulder has been making such a positive statement to its citizens by having a recreation center with a pool in each of its neighborhoods, east, north, and south. Please don't break the chain.
Thank you. Now we have David Becker, Yoella Lakritz, and Bennett Biersick.
I'm David Becker. My wife Ruth and I have lived in South Boulder since 1984. We came for its natural beauty, climate, and community. Our children went to schools in South Boulder, and now our grandchildren do. I've been to the South Boulder Rec Center thousands of times, where I work out and see lots of friends, many of whom are here tonight. I'd like to challenge 3 points which I've heard recently often. That the Reimagine SBRC petition demands a new rec center, that the current building has reached the end of its useful life, and that a new one will cost $30 million. Reimagine SBRC surveyed over 1,000 residents and determined that 3 features, a lap pool, double-wide gym, and exercise equipment in classrooms, are overwhelmingly the most desired. The survey was shared with city staff. Reimagine's petition, signed so far by over 3,500 citizens, asks council to, and I quote, commit to appropriating funding for whatever maintenance, renovations, or construction is needed to keep a South Boulder Rec Center with all three of its existing core features. A new SBRC would be nice, and of course some people would want one, but the petition isn't calling for one. I've carefully read many city documents discussing conditions of buildings and conclude that there are no big structural problems with SBRC. Granted, some of its mechanical systems may be at end of life, but the building isn't. I believe that it could be nicely improved and mildly expanded to overcome its deficiencies for far less than a replacement. It hasn't been refreshed since 1999. Finally, I suspect that the $30 million replacement cost is greatly understated when including three key features and demolition expense. Here's my request. I ask Council to appoint a commission of both citizens and staff to carefully explore the possibilities for retrofitting and updating SBRC and compare that with an accurate estimate of replacement. I volunteer. Let's spend our money wisely. Let's not ignore so many citizens' wishes. A community pool is not a luxury.
Your time is up, but thank you for your testimony. I appreciate it. Our last two speakers are Yoella Lakritz and Bennett Biersick.
Hi, thank you, Council, for allowing us to speak. I am not Yoella Lakritz. I am her father, Mike. She chose not to come and speak because she had so much homework and studying for her ACT before her swim team practice. So you can imagine I'm here to speak to advocate for the South Boulder Rec Center. And speaking for Yoella, my daughter, she's a 16-year-old junior at Fairview High School. And what the swim team has meant for her mental health, for her academic health, kind of goes really beyond words for me as her father. But she would tell you guys how important it is that they're able to walk down to the pool from their practice together as a team, the camaraderie that they have, just even be able to bum a ride home or walk home to our house with some other swimmers. I can't even begin to tell you how important that is. So just even for that little teeny population of Fairview swimmers, it is like, it is just a beacon for them, and to lose it would be horrible. Speaking for myself, I've been on that side of that up in Summit County as a planning commissioner up there for 12 years. And that was before we moved down here 14 years ago. What I would ask the council to do is think a little bigger here. Every community around here, it seems, has a world-class aquatic center. We've got acres and acres of land right there. The opportunity to build an aquatic center that embodies the values of Boulder, it's sitting right there. Not to mention putting another outdoor summer pool on that land to take the pressure off Scott Carpenter Pool. South Boulder is so dense, that place would be teeming with children and families all year long. So I ask you guys to think big, look to the huge corporations that exist here, Google, Apple, sell them naming rights to the pool, do whatever you can, think big, support that rec center and do something.
Thank you. All right, our final speaker is Bennett Biersick.
Good evening, City Council members. My name is Bennett, and I'll be 10 years old next month. I live in South Boulder, and I'm a 4th grader at Bear Creek Elementary. I was the only kid picked to speak tonight, but I represent all the kids in the audience who also wanted to speak out for South Boulder Rec Center. We are all here tonight because we care about our neighborhood and the South Boulder Rec Center. I've learned that Boulder has the goal of creating 15-minute neighborhoods, places where people can walk or bike to the thing they need in about 15 minutes. I think that's a really cool idea. But I have a question. How does taking away the pool and gym at the South Boulder Rec Center support that goal? I'm 10 years old. I can't drive. My friends can't drive either. The rec center is somewhere we can actually get to by ourselves or with our families without needing a car. We can walk or bike there. It's part of our neighborhood. If the pool and gym are taken away, the closest places with those things would be in East or North Boulder. That's more than a 10-minute drive. For kids like me, that might as well be really far away because we can't walk or bike there. That means we would need an adult with a car every time we wanted to swim, play basketball, or just be active indoors. So my question is, how does removing these things help kids in South Boulder live in a 15-minute neighborhood? And are kids in North and East Boulder more important than kids in South Boulder since their rec centers have pools, gyms, and even more things than ours? Shouldn't all kids in every neighborhood have equal access to the places that help us stay healthy, active, and connected to our community? Thank you for listening. Please stand up for South Boulder.
All right. Settle down, please. But for such phenomenal testimony by a 10-year-old, I get the enthusiasm. Bennett, thank you for joining us and participating in your local government. So thanks to everybody who has come to speak to us today. And I know not everyone got selected. We only have the 20 slots. If you did not get selected tonight, you will be prioritized for next business meetings open comment. So we encourage you to come back and speak to us next time. So I will turn now to city staff for responses to what we've heard tonight.
Good evening, Council. Thank you to everyone who came to speak and for everyone that is downstairs that didn't have space up here. Thank you all for coming as well. Bennett, the city is always hiring. I think the city attorney will tell me he's probably too young for us to work yet, but keep your eye on a city job. On the subject of the South Boulder Rec Center, as Council is aware, we have a study session coming up on facilities funding on April 9th that we will be talking about rec centers specifically as well. So we're looking forward to that conversation. And then on the topic of Flock, we've had conversations previously. Those conversations are still very much ongoing. So I appreciate everyone coming to speak. I know some of the folks that spoke tonight have been engaging with city staff, including Nuria as the city manager. And so we're continuing to have those conversations. And that's it for me tonight.
Thanks, Chris. Teresa, anything?
No legal issues, but I'd like to offer to write Bennett's recommendation to law school one day. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate you coming out tonight.
Imagine we'd all co-sign on to that letter. Any questions from council for city staff regarding open comment?
Yeah, Chris, regarding the facility, well, since it's related to the South Boulder stuff and the facility discussion, is there also going to be a discussion with regards to our larger financial long-term strategies, because they're sort of intrinsically entwined? So will that be folded in, or is there a separate conversation about financial strategies in the schedule that may address some of those core issues?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's going to be kind of a series of conversations. So we have a study session next week that is on tax ballot items, where we'll talk a little bit about the broader financial strategy. On April 9th, we'll go into a little bit deeper of the financial strategy work that and the long-term financial strategy that we all are working on as a council priority, and then do a bit of a deep dive into facilities and rec centers specifically. And then on I think it's May 14th specifically is the study session that'll be the annual financial forecast, as well as another check-in on ballot items. So there will be essentially a financial strategy conversation that you all will be having each month for the next 3 months.
Great. Any other questions? Yep, Taisha.
Thank you, Mayor. So I know that right now the Flock contract is under the police department, which is currently under the city manager's authority, which is something that the council gave the city manager that authority. So can you clarify who has the authority to approve that contract? And is there a pathway? Does the council have any kind of role or authority to weigh in on that decision? I know that the city manager is one of 3 employees that are under the direct supervision of the council. So there's just been some confusion. And so I would love to clarify who has what authority and what pathways are available regarding this decision. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Taisha, for the question. And under our charter, the city manager has the authority to sign contracts for the city and enter into contracts for the city. So the contracts, like the contract with Flock, is a decision of the city manager ultimately, and those are kind of that separation of the council as policymakers and then the city manager as executing the operations of the city.
And so I understand that. And since the council has authority over the city manager, I'm just not clear on if the city manager makes a decision that is outside of the vision and scope that had been approved. For example, one of the speakers brought up that we're a sanctuary city. And so having this technology with this specific company that has on record broken their own policy and lied about it, I just feel like there's an ethical question as well as just some of the evidence pieces here. So I do know that we have an annual performance process for our 3 employees. However, in incidences like this, I have some concerns. I don't think that process even begins until the summer. And so again, just curious what that process looks like. And again, there's a lot of contracts our city manager signs. And so, again, just, yeah, curious to hear your response.
Sure, I might look to Teresa to start.
Yes, so operations are under the charter, which is the constitution of our city, entrusted to the sound discretion of the city manager, not the city council. However, city council can set policy and set policy with respect to things like privacy considerations and generally surveillance considerations. So that would be in the policy lane, which is under city council's purview.
Thank you. So just to clarify what I heard, the city council does have the authority to set a policy that would could potentially prohibit if there was criteria that that policy identified. For example, needs to be in alignment with our sanctuary city policies. Could be one, for example, that would be something that we could consider.
Yeah, and sorry, go ahead, Teresa.
Sorry, yes, council member, that's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, Tina.
And just following up a little bit with that, when we were at the retreat in January, my understanding is that one of the topics we're looking at as a city is just thinking about data we collect, how we use that data, and which data might be shared, and what are the opportunities for improvement. And that was my recollection, that we are in the midst of that work to make sure that we're doing the best we can with data and making changes that we see. Is that also happening?
Yeah, Tina, thanks. That we're in the midst of that work right now, and data security is obviously something that we take really seriously as a city, and so that work is underway in evaluating and ensuring that privacy, security, and ensuring that the systems that we use are meeting the standard that we expect.
Great. So before I turn to council for any potential responses, I did want to correct something. People who weren't selected to sign up to speak tonight will be prioritized over people who did speak tonight for the next council meeting, but it does not necessarily guarantee you a slot, just to be clear. But try again. We'd love to hear from you. Any 30-second max responses from council to open comment tonight? I got Ryan, Nicole, Matt.
I want to recognize the people who have come to say that they're not comfortable with Flock and Boulder. I hear you, and I hear many others who've come before, including the Human Relations Committee. I'm also not comfortable, primarily because of the back-end vulnerabilities outside the city's control that many people have talked about. We definitely have some work to do to improve our community's sense of safety and security in the way we use technology. And as Chris said, staff is looking at this, both in terms of deciding what we do in the near term with contracts and for developing a wider comprehensive policy. And I know they're taking this seriously, and they're applying a high Boulder standard to this, and I have a lot of confidence in where they're headed.
Nicole?
Yeah, just wanted to echo the thanks to everybody who came out tonight. It's nice to see some of you at 6 p.m. instead of 6 a.m. I appreciated that. I have a couple of thoughts as a fellow user of the South Boulder Rec Center. I just wanted to plus one to Deputy Director Meschuk's comment about tuning in for our April 9th study session. It's entirely virtual. You can listen in or watch the recording. You'll get a deep dive on our facilities funding strategy, which will hopefully address some of the concerns. Also, just wanted to highlight that sales tax was the primary driver of our city's revenue. Sales tax determines most of what we're able to do in terms of services for residents, and the fact that it's flattening out is part of the struggle. So please support our local businesses. Buy in Boulder, especially now. Also, please get your friends to sign up for and use the rec center. This is a great way to get more use and increase the amount of user fees that are coming in. Local decisions depend a lot on use and user fees. Regarding Flock, I just want to echo
Nicole, we're
this is
just about out
precisely
of
why
time.
the city manager is doing this working group this year, and we should have some more good information there. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Matt? Matt, go ahead.
So everybody that came to speak on South Boulder Rec Center, it's amazing to see the force that community creates when they organize peacefully and they organize in a way that's productive. It is so refreshing. And I will say how amazing it is that when we focus on real local issues, look at how civil it is, look at the great demeanor we have in chambers. It's absolutely amazing. So please keep it up, keep showing up, and keep voicing your opinion. As I keep saying, endless pressure, endlessly applied is how we get change done in our community. So keep it up. Thank you all, and I hope to see you at the next business meeting.
Thanks. Taisha and then Tina.
Thank you. Thank you for everyone who showed up. I am an advocate of South Boulder Rec Center and am hopeful that we can find pathways. There are trade-offs, so everybody needs to be ready for that trade-off conversation. But I certainly approve of that more than expanding into Area 3. Having said that, I'm also a supporter of not renewing flock camera because of the evidence. It's not enough to believe what they say, because we see what they do. They break the law, they break their own word, and we are a sanctuary city or we are not. Thank you.
Thanks. Tina?
Yeah, just another sincere thank you to everyone who came, and also reminding me that I am also aging and very aware of that. And just around Flock, I think it's really important to not just look at Flock, but look at all the data that we're using and being really, really aware and conscientious of who it's being shared with. So I think we can always do better. So thanks again for showing up. Really appreciate it.
Tara?
Following what Matt said, it's a breath of fresh air to have you all here, to have the kids come and speak, and I'm hoping in our next session we hear more of the kids. I hope that they win the lottery.
That's great. I'll go ahead and say thanks so much to everybody who came out and spoke to us, and so much appreciate the youthful and the senior and everywhere in between energy for the South Boulder Rec Center. And just rest assured that all of us up here understand what a vital community resource that is, and looking forward to the discussions in the upcoming months about what to do next to preserve recreation in Boulder. Seeing no other hands raised, that'll bring us to the close of open comment. Thanks again to everybody who came. I'm going to call for a 3-minute recess, and we'll come back at 6:30 for the business meeting. come back up, sit down, please. All right. Welcome back, everybody. I'll gavel us in out of recess. We'll resume the meeting with the consent agenda, please, Alicia.
All right, sir, thank you. Our consent agenda is item number 3 on tonight's agenda, and it consists of items 3A through 3J.
Right. Any questions or comments on the consent agenda? Mark? Do you want to get the mic on there?
I don't really want to be heard. I want to comment on 3E and the resolution that's been suggested for that. I had...
Which is about this Area 3 Planning Reserve.
Yes. Oh. And I had suggested that we make an inclusion or change to that to reflect the fact that a good number of members of council are suggesting that the fundamental purpose of doing Area 3, if we decide to go in that direction, would be to create affordable, middle-income, and attainable housing. And that did not seem to be incorporated into that resolution. And I think Matt may have a suggestion as to altering my language, and I'm open to that if he wants to discuss that a little bit.
Did you want to go?
Sure, I'm happy to. My suggestion was going to be first to pull item 3E off the agenda and make a modification to it and let staff, because wordsmithing from the dais is not our expertise.
I'm good with that.
So just to sort of give a guardrail of some things for staff to cook and then hopefully bring back to us at our next business meeting would likely be April. So that would be the thought, wanting to get this sort of right, since these are some aspirational guardrails. So the thought would be really...
Do you want to make a motion to pull it off the
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to pull it off the consent agenda, and then whenever appropriate, provide that feedback to staff.
I will second that.
All in favor of pulling this off for a separate discussion? Raise your hand. That's unanimous. So I'll go ahead and say, let's go ahead and tackle 3E now, and then we'll get to the rest of the consent agenda afterwards. So Matt, if you want to speak to...
Yes. So sort of succinctly, the first two bullet points in the resolution really are hyper prescriptive with regards to middle income ownership. And I think that, yes, indeed, there's an aspiration that Area 3 probably have some of that, but that statement sort of is at the exclusion of other housing types. And so I think it might be beneficial to lift that up a little bit to a higher level and say something along the lines of, Area 3, we'd like Area 3 to be used to meet the housing needs that we assess cannot be met in the speed or scale in Area 1. And for example, those housing types may include middle income ownership or, senior housing, affordable senior housing, or housing with services, and sort of lay a few examples, but not make it exclusive or limited to only those. So it'll lift it higher up, but still provide some guardrails about what we hope Area 3 will provide. So that's my recommendation on those two bullets to kind of bring them higher level and be more inclusive of other housing types.
Mark?
And I'm supportive of that language. I did not mean to be that narrow, but I think we have expressed a view that there are housing types we want to see in Area 3 and housing types we do not want to see in Area 3. Basically, the kinds of rental stacked flats that we're seeing everywhere and that are proliferating everywhere. And so the language that you have suggested is very satisfactory to me, and I would hope staff would key off of that and bring back a new resolution that reflects the desire of a majority of council, I believe, although we have not taken a vote on it, but I believe it reflects the sentiment of a majority of council as to the purpose of developing Area 3.
Very good. Well, I might straw poll this, but Nicole, would you like to offer comment?
Just that I would support this. I was actually coming in prepared to vote no on that tonight because I was a little bit concerned with how prescriptive that first one, specifically around middle income ownership, especially given what we're going to be talking about during matters.
Very good. So I'll ask for a straw poll of show of hands from council members who agree with giving this direction to staff. Please raise your hand. And that's unanimous. Chris and other folks, does that provide sufficient clarity?
Yeah, this conversation was helpful. We'll take another round at it and bring it back. Thank you.
Sounds good. Anything else on item 3E before we move on? Okay, Mark and Matt, appreciate you doing that. Okay, then anything else on the rest of the consent agenda? Yeah, go ahead, Taisha.
I just had a comment about, the short-term rentals. I know that's just the first reading, so hopefully on the second, we can address some of the tracking issues around the second home ownership. I've already started to see postings on, different internet platforms about rentals, and if that's how it's starting, the concerns that I expressed earlier are already being validated. And then also curious about the HOA negotiations as well in the next reading. Thank you.
Very good. Anything else or a motion? Tina?
Can I ask just a follow-up question?
I had Tina in front of you, Mark, sorry.
That we're going to have a presentation with the amendment to the short-term rental with the addition of the long-term rentals.
Yes, the second reading for ordinance 8743 regarding the festival lodging rental license will be a public hearing with a presentation.
Perfect,
Yes.
thank you.
Very good. Mark?
And now I move the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and minus 3E.
Minus 3, yes.
Do you want to clarify that?
I move the consent agenda minus paragraph 3E.
Okay, and you have a second on that? Have a roll call, please, Alicia.
Yes, sir, thank you. The consent agenda vote for items 3A through D and F through J will begin with Mayor Pro Tem Weiner.
Yes.
Councilmember Adams.
Yes.
Benjamin.
Yes.
Mayor Brockett.
Yes.
Councilmember Kaplan.
Yes.
Marquis.
Yes.
Shuhard.
Yes. Spear.
Yes.
And Wallach.
Yes.
The consent agenda, as noted, is hereby approved unanimously.
Thanks so much. Can we go to our call-up check-in, please?
Yes, sir. Our call-up check-in is item 4A on tonight's agenda. It is the concept plan review and comment request for a proposed redevelopment of 3550 and 3850 Frontier Avenue as an urban neighborhood anchored by a 2,500 person capacity events venue and rehearsal space, a hotel, approximately 500 apartments, 30,000 square feet of commercial uses such as restaurants, coffee shops, and retail, and structured parking. The proposal would involve a rezoning and height modification. This is reviewed under case number LUR 2025-00086.
Thanks so much. I have a thought on this, but I'll see if anybody else wants to get started before I go. Not seeing an initial hand raised, I'll plunge in. I'll just say that I don't feel the need to call this up necessarily. I thought staff and planning board have done a good job of reviewing the proposal and giving some focused feedback. I would say that I know that one of the issues that's raised is there's not necessarily a zone district that perfectly suits the land use designation. And I would just say express, from my perspective, a willingness if there needed to be some form of legislative intervention by city council to allow the proposal to move forward in some similar shape that it is in currently. I would be open to considering that at a later stage. So just wanted to throw that out there and then just check in with council to see if that approach is something that would work for other folks. Nicole.
Yeah, I think, well, specifically, I really don't have a desire to call this up. And to your point, Mayor, I think if we were kind of interested in that, it probably would be a good idea to call it up. But I think that staff can move. I mean, if we don't call this up, that's sort of a, keep going with this, right? Which I think indicates to staff exactly what it is that they need to do to move forward. So it suggests our support if we don't call this up.
That's a good point. Thank you. Chair?
I love that idea, Aaron. Great idea.
Oh, thank you. Mark?
Yeah, I just want to get a better understanding of how we will have any input into a number of decisions if we don't call it up, including the manner in which inclusionary housing obligations will be met. I know Planning Board, there were several members who had issues with respect to height modifications, staging of residential versus commercial, and so I am interested in not having those particular issues completely get away from us, because I think we may have comments to make on them. And how is that going to be possible if we don't call it up, which I'm prepared not to do if we have an outlet?
Do you want to address that, Teresa?
Yes, Councilmember, the items that you outlined would be part of a site review, and certainly would come to council for review at that point.
Okay.
With a concept plan. This is certainly a bigger overview picture.
So we will be able to have some input on those various issues, or others that may be of particular interest to any member of council.
At the time of site review. Yes, Rob?
Good.
I just have a clarifying question. Right now, we don't have zoning that accommodates all of these pieces that this project would like to incorporate. Is that correct? And that what we want to do is we want to create a tailored MU4?
Brad, do you want to address that?
Good evening, Council. Brad Mueller, Director of Planning and Development Services. That's a matter of perspective, of course. Folks do have opportunities to work within a particular zone district, but the combination of uses that are being proposed is outside of any specific zone district that we would have that we've accommodated. But as we've talked about in different contexts, we're committed to exploring changes that would accommodate that, or tailor zone district of some sort, whatever the best mechanism would be. Obviously, it would be council's determination at the end of the day whether to accept all those elements. So I don't want to predetermine your deliberation on that regard, but that's correct. As proposed right now, it wouldn't accommodate, no zone district would accommodate all that.
Okay, and that's the total scope of this?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Nicole, go ahead.
While you're there, Brad, just a quick question. I mean, it's not totally unusual for a project to come with us and need some zoning changes down the road or something like that, right? I mean, it doesn't feel like this is something that we've ever talked about at the call-up stage before. And I guess it seems like it doesn't seem like this is unusual, and you all seem to figure out the solutions to it without us needing to intervene. So just curious.
We certainly try. Thank you. Yes, I would say, the rezoning deliberations, the site plan deliberations is where that typically would happen. And while the development code tries to imagine all possibilities for all scenarios in perpetuity, we obviously can't. And part of council's value is that we do be creative and flexible, and bring forward alternatives when the opportunities present themselves, and we're certainly prepared to do that at council's direction in the future.
That's great to hear. Thanks, Brad. All right, any other follow-up questions, or any interest in calling this up? All right, not seeing any. All right, so I think we will decline to call that project up, and with the comments as noted from before. All right, well, we have... No. All right, well, we have one public hearing before us. So, Elisha, if we can go to that, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Our public hearing is item 5A on tonight's agenda, and it is the consideration of a motion to approve the 2026 board and commission appointments as noted, effective April 1st, 2026.
Great. Do you want to kick us off, Chris?
Sure, I'm going to kick us off, and we're going to go right full circle back to Alicia here to introduce this item, and John is joining us up here on the dais as well. So Alicia, take it away.
Thank you, Chris. Good evening, Council. Elisha Johnson, serving the city as your city clerk and records manager. Before we begin the process of nominating and appointing board and commission candidates to fill our current vacancies, I'm going to provide an outline of our process for this item. There are 2 steps. First, I will present a slide of the number of seats that are vacant, the number of applications received, along with the number of eligible candidates. Second, I will ask the mayor to open our public hearing, close it when complete, and turn the discussion back to me to provide council with guidance on how the nomination and appointment process will proceed. I am joined here tonight by our Elections Administrator, John Morse, and he will assist me and you in this process. Well, you got this is set, right? You pulled the slides up? All right, thank you. First, next slide, please. We had a robust recruitment period this year, as noted in your packet. We currently have 38 vacancies that we're seeking appointment for, and we received a total of 171 applications. We ended up, after the assessment of those applications, with 156 eligible applicants. Next slide, please. We do want to note for council the following 4 boards, as listed on the screen, did not receive any applications, except for the Boulder Junction Access District Travel Demand Management Commission. They did receive 1 applicant, but that particular applicant was only eligible for 1 seat. I will now ask the mayor to open up the public hearing, and once it is closed, to turn the meeting back over to me to explain the process.
Thanks, Alicia. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. We have 2 people signed up to speak. We have Lynn Siegel virtually and Patrick Chumiel in person. Each of you will get 3 minutes, and I'll just ask you to speak to the item before us, which is the 2026 board and commission appointments.
Lynn Siegel, I don't approve any of the appointments or this whole process. I don't trust the entire city council or anyone to having anything to do with city government or county government in this place. My personal experiences, I can explain to you anytime, but this is the most corrupt city I've ever lived in. I wish I didn't live here. I'm really upset about it. I certainly wouldn't support anything anyone puts on any board. The worst example is Chelsea Castellano, who just did more to destroy historic renovation and historic preservation in Boulder than anyone on any board ever. And it's appalling. She has no reason to be on the board. She has no interest in landmarking. Her one interest in life is Eric Budd, Lisa Sweeney Moran, and pushing density on Boulder to the extent that we will have no space left for anyone here. We will have no money for any South Boulder Rec Center or North or East or the 5 other rec centers that we're going to need in addition to the 108,000 people that we have here to accommodate the other 60,000 people that Sundance and other growth initiatives and LIHTC programs from the federal government bribing us to develop more and overpopulate the space with in our town. And so I can't support the boards and commissions either, because I don't trust the whole process. And our police chief, who is a completely corrupt individual that basically killed Elijah McClain. This is all very relevant to the boards and commissions because it's corruption that runs so deep in Boulder that I can't trust anything at all that happens here. Nothing. That's really sad. I don't think it's necessary. You know, my dad came here in 1949 and he really liked it then, but he still thought it was too overpopulated. But the corruption in this town is so contrary to the Wild West that where New Thought and liberals live. That is not the case at all. I think that there are more closet Trump voters in this town than probably any place I've ever lived. But then I've lived in a lot more progressive places than Boulder.
Your time is up.
Mayor, point of order.
Yes.
I don't know if I can do this, but I would take exception with the commenter's personal attacks on our board members. I think it's inappropriate, especially tonight when we're here to welcome new board members. The commenter's welcome to their opinions, but the personal attacks are not appropriate.
Thank you for that, Ryan. I agree with you. Absolutely. Nicole?
And similarly with staff, I just,
Yes.
I would really love for people to avoid calling out staff by name.
I agree with that as well. Thanks to you both for your words. All right, our last speaker is Patrick Chumil. Is Patrick Chumil present? Not seeing him here. I will now close the public hearing and turn back to Alicia for continuing through the process.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, I will now review the formal candidate nomination process. Let me put the slides back up, please. Please be reminded that this procedure is also outlined in our Boulder Revised Code and in your agenda materials. We will proceed through nominations, one board or commission at a time in alphabetical order by board title. We do want to note for council that nominations and official appointments for commissioners on the Boulder Urban Renewal Authority will be made by the mayor following recommendations from council members. The procedure process will otherwise remain the same as the other boards or commissions. Council members will make nominations to fill vacancies one seat at a time. Once nominations for the seat have been made by council members, council is welcome to discuss with each other before taking final action. If only one person is nominated for a seat, that appointment will stand if there are no objections. If more than one person is nominated for the same seat, we have a specific process for narrowing the candidates down to one finalist. A vote of support will be held for each individual that is nominated. If that happens, candidates must receive a minimum of 5 votes to be declared the finalists for a vacant seat. If the first round of voting does not produce a clear winner, the candidate with the fewest votes will drop from the nominee list and the vote will be conducted again. This continues until a single nominee remains. The order of nominees will be called either alphabetically or reverse alphabetically by last name of the nominees dependent upon a flip of my coin. From that point on, I will alternate the order for all further nominee votes during the meeting where more than one candidate has been nominated. If a person is not selected for the first seat they are nominated for, they can be nominated for one of the other available seats on the board or commission, or for the other board, or for another board or commission seat that they applied to. This process is followed for each board and commission. Now, we do also want to note in reference to Bureau, because of the requirements as outlined in the state statute, once the seats are selected for Bureau, the mayor will make a motion to approve the 2026 appointments to Bureau as indicated, and this can be done through a show of hands. Once council has determined a single appointed candidate for each seat, staff will request the consideration of a motion to approve the 2026 boards and commission appointments as noted, effective April 1st, 2026. And this item will be concluded for the evening. To assist council, John will be keeping visual track of the nomination and appointments via the screens. Nominated candidates will be highlighted in yellow as they are nominated, and once appointed, those candidates will be indicated in green font. Mayor, I now turn the meeting back to you, and John and I are here to support the process as it continues.
Thanks so much, Alicia. All right. So John's got the slide up here. We've got the Arts Commission is what we're going to start with. So what I'll do is I'll ask folks for nominations, and once all the nominations are on the floor, I'll invite people to speak to the nominations that they have made. I would encourage everybody to be brief because we have many, many, many candidates to get through tonight. And then if other folks who didn't make a nomination also feel like it's critically important to speak to that board appointment, you may. But again, let's try to be expeditious about this.
Mayor, if I may, I
yes.
just want to, we did change the slides somewhat this year, so I do want to explain the changes. You'll see on each slide the name of the board, the number of eligible applicants, the seat listing and their terms, and you'll see in red next to an applicant's name the other boards that they applied to, or if they are already serving on that board and when their term began. So if you have any questions during the process, please let us know.
That is very helpful. Thank you, John. Thank you, Alicia and Emily, for putting that together. So, Arts Commission, we got 2 seats. Who'd like to open up the nominations? I see Nicole, I see Mark, and Rob.
I wanted to nominate Sheila Davis. I really appreciated the depth and insight in her interview responses. This applicant has helped with many prominent arts and culture events in our community, particularly events that brought in the Black community and helped them be represented in our arts and culture. Her work has really enriched our entire community, though, and that's why I would welcome her participation in the Arts Commission.
Thanks, Mark.
I'm going to nominate Montserrat Palacios. I thought her application was strong. She has a background in the arts. I will also point out that I thought she conducted herself well during the last council campaign, although that's not entirely relevant. But putting all of those things together, I thought she made a strong candidate.
Thanks, Rob.
They covered it.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear you.
They covered it. They got my candidate.
Oh, so you got it. Okay. I had real trouble hearing you. Tina? Okay. So we've got Sheila Davis and Montserrat Palacios. Who's going first, Alicia?
We'll start with alphabetical, sir.
Okay, and this is by last name, correct? Okay, so all in favor of Sheila Davis, raise your hand. I got 3. All in favor of Montserrat Palacios. We got 6. So Montserrat gets seat number 1. So now let's go to seat number 6. Who would like to make a nomination for seat number 6? Nicole?
I would like to nominate Sheila Davis.
Matt?
I'd like to nominate Kate Cimino.
Okay. Did you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I'll speak to Kate. I mean, being a professor at CU and College of Music, I think understanding where students are coming from as our emerging artists, I think Kate would provide a really valuable insight, certainly from that academic perspective, since we don't really have that in that capacity. And her interview was rock solid, so I think she'd make a great addition.
Great. Tina?
Yeah, I'd like to nominate James Maynard. And if you're not familiar, he's been doing some really innovative work in bringing music into neighborhoods, which I think is really reflective of this idea that art exists in different places in the community, and he's really leading in that effort.
Great. Any others? Then we will go in reverse alphabetical order. So the first up will be James David Maynard. All in favor, raise your hand. We got 1. Sheila Davis. 2. Sheila Davis. Yep, so that's 4. Kate Cimino. We got 4. So James Davis Maynard will drop off, and we'll go back through starting in alphabetical. Kate Cimino, all in favor, raise your hand. We got 5. So Kate gets seat number 6. All right, so Beverage Licensing Authority, we have 1 seat available and 1 person who's applied to that seat, Leah Roberts. Anyone want to care to nominate?
I nominate Leah Roberts to speak to that. She's already on the liquor board, and she's done a great job. And I know her personally. I can vouch for her as well. And she's excited to do a second term.
Okay, I think we can do this one by acclamation with one person. So congrats to Leah Roberts. Thanks for reapplying. Board of Zoning Adjustment. We have seat number 1 for a 5-year term, and we have one applicant. Does anyone want to make a nomination? Yes, Rob.
I'd like to nominate Sage Dalton. Am I on the wrong one?
Well, the presentation governs. I think not everyone's eligible.
Look at the slide, it's right there.
Great. I'd like to nominate Craig Hammond.
Good job.
All right. Did you want to speak to that, Rob?
Great guy. And thank you for your service. I'm glad somebody applied. Thank you.
All right. Since there are no other potential nominees, Craig Hammond will take it by acclamation. Okay, now we're going to the Boulder Junction Access District Travel Demand Management Commission. Rob, did you have a thought?
Can I try again?
And by the way, this will be to the 5-year term. Yes, so seat number 3 for the 5-year term.
Okay. I'd like to
Actually, it's
nominate.
seat number 5 for the 3-year term.
Oh, thanks. Okay, seat number 5 for the 3-year term. Yes, thanks for clarifying.
That is what Sage is eligible for.
Okay.
Rob.
I'd like to nominate Sage Dalton. I don't know him personally, but my son went to Ocean First, and it's a fantastic program, and I know he's been a member of the community for a long, long time.
Very good. So as Sage is the only candidate available, Sage will get it by acclamation. All right, the easy ones are over. We're on to the Boulder Urban Renewal Authority, for
Mayor,
which we...
if I may just add another bit of information that may help assist council. When you do seats 1 through 6, you can actually do them one seat at a time. You can start with seat 1, or you can do them as a group, right? Because they're all for the same term, 5 years. And then seats 7 through 9 will be appointed members for like 2, 3, and 4 years, which is the staggered term as required. So 7 would be for 2 years, 8 would be for 3 years, and then 9 would be for 4 years. And then the council seat, I do also want to note, staff did send out a requirement and asked for solicitation for any council members that were interested in serving in that seat, and received 1 email of interest, and that came from Mayor Pro Tem Weiner. So I hope that all helped.
Thank you. All right. Not yet. We're going to have to see if anybody nominates you tonight. So I would like to take this one seat at a time, just so there's clarity in terms of who's getting appointed. So, and thanks, we had 27 applicants, so appreciate the amount of interest in the community for this reconstituted bureau. And actually, Chris, might I turn to you to just talk about why we're appointing so many people this year to this board?
Yeah, real quick, the Boulder Urban Renewal Authority has existed for a long time. I think it was about 10 years ago, state law changed in what the composition of a board of an urban renewal authority needs to look like. So we recently went through the process of updating how our urban renewal authority works. So the reason you're appointing so many seats is to match the new requirements. And this is the first time that we're going to do it.
Thanks for that clarification. So that tells what other boards people have applied to if they have other board names next to their names. Okay, so we're going to take this one seat at a time. So the first 6 seats are for 5-year terms. So we're going to start with seat number 1 for a 5-year term. I will accept nominations. Tina.
I'd like to nominate Catherine Bean.
Okay, and I'll just ask people to speak to their people right away. So
Sure. Catherine's been involved in the community, both doing affordable and market rate housing, and seems to have a really good perspective on how the city works and different funding streams. And I think she'd bring a lot of knowledge to the role. That's a fair.
Any others for this first round? Yes, Taisha.
I would like to nominate Boembe Chikoloa. and we called him Chico, and I had the honor of serving with them on the initial Boulder Police Oversight Panel. Just even-headed, very thoughtful, has a family, has lived in Boulder, has a CU Boulder connection as well, and I just think would be a wonderful addition to this authority. Thank you.
Thanks. Seeing no other nominations, I think we're in reverse alphabetical at this point. So we will start with Wembia Chikolwa. All in favor, raise your hand. Catherine Bean. Okay, so that's 8. So Catherine takes round seat number 1. Now we'll go to seat number 2, nominations. Tara?
I'd like to nominate Michael Lachesi. He has been on the HAB. He understands boards. He understands the material. He's well known in the community. I think he'll do a great job. He had a great interview.
Very good. Taisha?
I would like to nominate Chico again. Again, understands public safety during a time when we need it most. Thank you.
Very good. So we're going to go alphabetical this time. So we'll start with Wembia Chikolwa. We got 4 votes here. Michael Lachesi. Got 5. So Michael takes seat number 2. Seat number 3, nominations. Nicole?
I would like to nominate Wembia Chikolwa as well. I was really impressed just with the application, and I think for this, as it's kind of reconstructed, having some folks who've been on city boards before or worked with the city in some way can be really valuable.
Great. Any other nominations? Seeing none, Wembia Chikolwa will get it by acclamation for seat number 3. Seat number 4, nominations. Matt?
I'd like to nominate Bill Schrum. I'll just speak real quick. I mean, talk about having someone who's perfectly designed for our transition to getting this board up and running. Bill does this professionally and advising other communities how to do this. So I think in our time of transition and getting Bureau up and running as fast as it can to do all the great stuff we're asking it to do, Bill would be great in helping this board get up to speed and get us up running, high functioning.
Very good. Others? Rob?
I'd like to nominate Andrew Gettleman. He's a scientist. He's worked at NCAR. His family has lived here for many years. He's built his home. He's been a renter. He's been a landlord. He understands the landscape. He's non-ideological, very data-driven. I think he would be an asset to the board.
Nicole?
I wanted to nominate Stephanie Chen for this board. I think having a smaller artist perspective could be really valuable here, and was really impressed with her application, as well as just interest in getting involved in the city, but I think that her skills would be valuable. For some of the folks that have some of the more practical experience, like Bill Schrum, I would love to see him on one of the 2 to 4 year terms instead, so that's my only reason for looking here. I'm hoping that we can bring some more people into this board as well. They can get some experience and also bring some really good perspectives and be there for longer term leadership.
Thanks for that. Which order are we in now? Reverse. So we'll start with Bill Schrum. All in favor, raise your hand. I got 4, 5. Okay, so Bill will take seat number 4. So we'll move to seat number 5, nominations. Tara?
I would like to nominate, let me just get her name, hold on. Anya Richmond. I loved her very fantastic interview, and I think she'd be a great asset, and she has the qualifications.
I would like to nominate Stephanie Chen. I already spoke on that.
Very good. Rob?
And I'd like to nominate Andrew Gettleman again.
Okay. Any others? Not seeing any. Alphabetical order. We'll start with Stephanie Chen. All in favor, raise your hand. We got 4. Andrew Gettleman. 1. Anya Richmond. 4. So Andrew Gettleman will drop off, and we'll start over again with Anya Richmond. We got 5 this time. So Anya gets seat number 5. It's a lot to keep track of here. All right, seat number 6. This is our last 5-year term. Nominations, please. Tina.
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Andrew Gettleman. Andrew Gettleman.
Nicole.
I would like to nominate Stephanie Chen once again, and just want to speak to, I think, the value of bringing in not young, but younger than many of us up here, people into our boards and commissions, again, thinking about succession planning and the long-term leadership of our city.
Stephanie Chen. Mark.
I'd like to nominate Chris Mon as a banker. I think he's got financial skills that would be very useful for this commission, and I think he'd make a good addition.
All right, seeing no others, what's our order? Alphabet. Okay, Stephanie Chen. All in favor, raise your hand. I got 4. Andrew Gettleman. I got 3. And Chris Mon. 2. So Chris will drop off. We'll go reverse alphabetical. Andrew Gettleman. We got 4. Stephanie Chen. That's 5. So Stephanie gets seat number 6. All right, so seat number 7 will be a 4-year term. Is that correct?
Seat 7 will be a 2-year term.
A 2-year term. Okay, we'll move lower to higher. So nominations for seat number 7. Tara.
Andrew Berwick, he is superb. Sorry I waited so long, Andrew. I just want to say that he also applied for the housing, which was that board? Housing Authority, and he had a marvelous interview on that as well, and I think Andrew would add a lot. He is into how do I put it? He really cares about the community, he cares about youth, he's been involved in a lot of social causes, and he also has great business experience. I absolutely adore him.
I had Nicole and then Ryan.
I wanted to nominate Chester Harvey. He's got a PhD in planning, has a lot of relevant practical experience, and I really appreciated that he works on development with a special lens on avoiding displacement.
Ryan? Okay. So we've got Andrew Berwick and Chester Harvey. We're going alphabetical this time. We'll go for Andrew Berwick. All in favor, raise your hand. I got 3. Chester Harvey. 6. So Chester Harvey gets seat number 7. Seat number 8, we're down to our last 2 here. Seat number 8 is a 3-year term. Nominations, Matt.
I'd like to nominate Chris Mahan.
Tina.
I'm going to withdraw mine.
I'd like to nominate Aaron Weiss. He has a young family here in Boulder, and as you know, if you read his application, he operated a tree company and has been around the town watching it develop. He's a terrific asset, I think, to our community.
Very good. Did you have one, Rob?
I'll nominate Andrew Gettleman again.
All right. We're going reverse alphabetical this time. We'll start with Aaron Weiss. All in favor, raise your hand. We got 3. Chris Mon. We got 4. Andrew Gettleman. Got 2. So Andrew drops out. We'll go for Chris Mon. We got 5. So Chris has seat number 8. All right, seat number 9. This is our last community appointee for a 4-year term. Nominations, Nicole.
Yeah, I wanted to nominate David Schaefer. This is somebody who was on our Board of Zoning and Adjustment a while ago. Architect seems like would be a valuable perspective, especially as we are getting started here.
Mark?
I'd like to nominate Carla Graubard. She has an extremely strong business background that would serve this committee well. We tend to give short shrift to senior citizens in our boards and commissions, and I think she's also applied to 3 boards 2 years in a row, and I would like to reward that persistence because she is also qualified, and so I'd like to put her forth.
Very good. Any others? Last call. Seeing none. All right, so reverse alphabetical. We got David Schaefer. All in favor, raise your hand. We got 4. Carla Graubard. We got 5. So Carla gets seat number 9. All right, so seat number 10, we need a council member. Do we have any nominations? I will go ahead and nominate Mayor Pro Tem Tara Weiner for this position.
Is she qualified?
I believe so. I believe so. Any other nominations? All right, Tara gets that one by acclamation. So we now need a motion, I believe.
If you want me, I was going to ask, do you want me to review the nomination, the final nominations for the record?
Please do.
All right, thank you. For seat 1, we have nominated and appointed Catherine Bean. Seat 2, we have nominated Michael Lakis. Seat 3 is Bimwa Shikola. Seat 4, Bill Shrum. Seat 5, Anya Richmond. Seat 6, Stephanie Chen. Seat 7, Chester Harvey. Seat 8, Chris Mon. Seat 9, David Schaefer. No, wait a minute, no, I'm sorry. See, that's what I wanted to ask. Seat 9 is Carla Grobert. And seat 10 is Mayor Pro Tem Weiner.
Thank you for that, Elisha. So I am going to go ahead and move that we approve the 2026 appointments to Bureau as indicated.
Second.
All in favor, please raise your hand. That, Brian? Sorry. Yep. That's unanimous. So these will be the appointments to Bureau. All right, great job, everybody, getting through that very complicated, long process. Now we go back to some easy ones. Design Advisory Board, we have seat number 1 for a 5-year term. Tina?
I'd like to nominate Lee Johnson.
Would you like to speak to that? Okay. There's only one candidate, so Lee Johnson gets it by acclamation. All right, now we're going to go to the Downtown Management Commission. We have a mix. We have 2 seats. Seat number 1, which is a 5-year term, and seat number 5, which is also a 5-year term, but seat 5 has to be a property owner or representative. So we have different people who are eligible for the 2 seats as outlined on the slide above. We will start with seat number 1, and I will take nominations. Tara?
I would like to nominate Don Poe. He's the...
No, we're doing seat number 1. Don's not eligible for that.
But he is eligible for seat 1 as well.
That was my question.
Both the people that
see.
are eligible for seat 5 are also eligible for seat 1.
Thank you for
Just
clarifying that.
I see.
So you can nominate him if you would like.
I like a lot of people. That's my problem. Fine. I'll nominate Don Poe for seat number 1.
Did you want to speak to that?
What a great guy. Also, he was on the Downtown Management Commission and he was dedicated and he did a great job. He spoke to us at council a few times, and so I think he would be great for either seat.
Very good. Nicole?
I wanted to nominate Chloe Rain Bowie, for this seat, who is somebody who is a downtown resident, works down there, is also an artist. I think brings a lot of really nice perspective to this area and has experienced a lot of the issues that are arising downtown, and I think has a sincere desire to participate in the leadership of making it better.
Which direction? All right, alphabetical, so we'll start with Chloe Rain Bowie. All in favor, raise your hand. We got 2. Don Poe. Got 7. So Don Poe gets seat number 1, which makes seat number 5 very easy. Who would like to make a nomination for that? Tina.
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Carol Brewer. I appreciated both her video and application, and I think she'd serve well. Thank you.
Very good. As she's the only eligible person for seat number 5 and is nominated, she'll get it by acclamation. Environmental Advisory Board. We have seat number 1 for a 5-year term and seat number 3 for a 2-year term. We'll start with seat number 1, the 5-year term. Nominations, please. Rob.
I'd like to nominate Harold Esther. His CV and his video were outstanding. PhD in environmental policy. He's been on boards. Just very impressive.
Tara.
I'd like to nominate Monica Crosby. I loved her interview, and she's very qualified.
Matt. Nicole.
I wanted to nominate Daniel Howard. I think as a scientist brings a really interesting perspective to EAB and has done a lot of work on environmental issues in our community.
All right, seeing no other hands raised. Oh, yes, Taisha.
Thank you. I would like to nominate Josefina Hazek Herrera. I was especially impressed by the energy work around solar as well as the community preparedness. Thank you.
Thanks. I believe we're alphabetical again, so we're going to start with Monica Crosby. All in favor, raise your hand. I got 4. Harold Esther. 1. Josefina Hajek Herrera. 1. Daniel Howard. 3. So I believe the 2 1-vote getters would drop off. Is that correct? Okay, so we're left with Monica Crosby and Daniel Howard. We'll go in reverse alphabetical. All in favor of Daniel Howard. That is 4. Monica Crosby. That's 5. So Monica gets seat number 1. We'll now go to seat number 3. Nominations, please. Ryan.
I'd like to nominate Daniel Howard. Daniel Howard is a frequent visitor to council here, often providing very technical and prepared commentary, much of which has helped to inform what we're doing now with the Boulder Valley Comprehensive Plan and other really important land use work.
Thanks. Taisha.
I'd like to nominate Aaron Spencer, who is one of the few candidates that has experience around energy and green buildings. Thank you.
Any others? Tara?
I'd like to nominate Sidra. I thought she did a great interview. I say the same for everybody, don't I? And she was extremely qualified. I believe she was really young too. And so I really liked her energy.
Great. All right, we'll go in alphabetical order here. We're going to start with Sidra Agababian. 2. Daniel Howard. That's 5. So Daniel gets seat number 3. Now we have the Housing Advisory Board. We got 3 seats for this one. Seat number 2, which is a 4-year term. Seat number 3, which is a 5-year term. And seat number 5, which is a 2-year term. I'm going to start with the 5-year term, seat number 3. So if I could take nominations, please. Matt.
I'd like to nominate Michael Block as, leader of All Roads. Oh,
That's the different one. This is
Housing Advisory
Advisory
Board. I was looking at BHP, HA. Sorry. No, you're right. Sorry, I went to Michael Block.
Yeah, no worries. Sorry. We'll come back to that.
Yep.
Tina.
It's Cindy.
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Shira Feinberg. I just really appreciated her experience with Thistle and thought it would be useful on Housing Advisory Board.
Great. Other nominations? Taisha.
I would like to nominate, Mark Farrer. He has been working on tenants' rights and housing issues since the 80s and actually lives in housing here, and has just been a very strong advocate. So, lived and learned experience.
All right. Seeing no other hands raised, do we reverse alphabetical now? Okay, so we're going to start with Shira Feinberg. All in favor, raise your hands. That is 8 votes, so Shira Feinberg gets seat number 3, the 5-year term. So let's move to seat number 2, the 4-year term. Nominations, Tara.
I'd like to nominate Brendan Selby. What a great interview. I said that before, but this was really a great interview, and he's incredibly qualified.
Tina.
I'd like to nominate Thomas Murdoch, Toby. He's just shown a lot of interest and has a lot, and started a company here, and I think he'd be a real asset to this board.
Nicole. Taisha.
I'd like to nominate Mark Ferrer.
Nicole.
I wanted to nominate Anne Mahone. To Mark's earlier point about persistence, Anne Marie is somebody who has been applying to, I think, TAB at least for 2 or 3 years now. Anne Marie brings a lot of experience as a worker, as someone who has really lived in a variety of housing types within our city, and I think she would be a good addition to Housing Advisory Board.
Great. All right, we got 4 nominations. We're going to go alphabetical. All in favor of Mark Fuhrer? We got 1. Anne Mahon. We got 2. Thomas Murdoch. We got 3. Brendan Selby. We got 3. So Mark Fuhrer will drop off. We'll go in reverse alphabetical order and start with Brendan Selby. So we got 3. Thomas Murdoch. We got 4, Anne Mahon. 2. So Anne will drop off. We'll go alphabetical. Thomas Murdoch. That is 4. Brendan Selby. That is 4. Taisha, I'm going to need a vote for Thomas or Brendan.
Brendan.
All right. Brendan gets seat number 2, the 4-year term. Okay, and now we'll do seat number 5, the 2-year term nominations. Nicole?
I will nominate Anne Mahone.
Tina?
Thomas Murdoch.
Yes, Taisha?
Mark Ferrer.
Okay.
Me.
Yes, Tara?
David Garabed, who also had a great interview.
I feel like I've heard you say that before. All right. Reverse alphabetical at this point? Alphabetical. All right. 4 nominations. We'll start with Mark Fuhrer. All in favor? Got 1. David Garabed. 3. Anne Mahone. 3. Thomas Murdoch. 2. So Mark Fuhrer drops off. We'll go reverse alphabetical. Thomas Murdoch. We got 2. Anne Mahone. 4. David Garabed. 3. Thomas Murdoch drops off. We'll go alphabetical for our final round. David Garabed. That's.
Is it too late?
It's between David Garabed and Anne Mahone at this point. So all in favor of David Garabed? That's 5. So David gets seat number 5. All right. Moving on, we have the Housing Authority. We have 2 seats, both for a 5-year term. I'll take nominations for seat number 1. Oh, Tara.
I want to nominate one of my BFFs, Michael Block. Who doesn't love Michael? He's so great. Come on.
Beach out. Any other nominations? I saw Rob.
I'd like to nominate Ann Cooper. She's got lived experience. She's an incumbent. She's passionate, and she's just a beautiful human being.
Any others? Okay, we're reverse alphabetical for this one. And all in favor of Ann Cooper, raise your hand. That's 6, I think. 7. So Ann gets seat number 1. I have a sense of how seat number 7 might go. Who would like to make a nomination for seat number 7? Ooh, Nicole, first hand.
I will nominate Michael Block. Only the first time here, not the first time tonight, right?
Okay. I think we know Michael well. Any other nominations? Seeing none, Michael gets it by acclamation. And I appreciate both Michael and Ann's willingness to continue to serve on this board. All right, Human Relations Commission, we've got seat number 1 for a 5-year term. Nominations, please. Don't everybody race here. Tina.
I would nominate Alejandra Neeland Zavala. I just thought that her participation in the community assembly and her interest was great. So.
Very good. Tara?
I would like to nominate Rachel Rose Isaacson. I feel like she's an incredibly dedicated person, and this is her thing, really. And of course, her interview was absolutely incredible.
Any other nominations? Nicole?
Not a nomination. I just want to say this. We have so many good people here too, and I really wish we had more than one seat.
Yeah, I'll call on myself. I'm mostly not speaking to the applicants, but I thought Rachel Rose Isaacson and Alejandra Nealon Zavala were both excellent applicants. I wish we could get both of them.
Let's do it.
But we only have one spot. So thanks to both of you for applying, as well as all the other applicants. Which direction are we? Alphabetical. So Rachel Rose Isaacson, raise your hand. We got 3. Alejandra Nealon Zavala. We got 6. So Alejandra gets the seat. All right, we're at the Landmarks Board. We've got 1 seat for a 5-year term. Nominations, Matt?
I'd like to nominate Alex Weinheimer. Alex has been a rock-solid individual in our community for a number of years, certainly with his work on TAB, and Landmarks needs some balance and some help a little bit. So I think Alex can definitely bring a little balance and some good perspective as we deal with some of the challenges coming out of Landmarks.
Thanks. Others? Seeing no other nominations, Alex Weinheimer will get it by acclamation. We have the Open Space Board of Trustees. We have seat number 1 for a 5-year term. I saw Mark first.
I'm going to nominate Nix Phillipson. Should I speak to it now? In an era when fire resilience is one of our primary issues, he is extraordinarily ready and appropriate for that role. He was the strongest single candidate I interviewed during this process, and his background is impeccable, and I liked him very, very much.
Thanks. Nicole? Or Matt, were you first?
I don't know.
I will nominate Morgan Lamel. Morgan, I think, just has an incredible lens coming in as somebody who works with people who are working on policy as a mediator and facilitator, master's in environmental policy. I believe her policy experience extends to wildfire as well as climate resilience, things like that, just kind of all across the board. And I will also, as a woman here, just state that it is helpful to have some gender balance on these boards. I know it is not a requirement, and it is a good thing for our community when we have more perspectives represented.
Thanks. Taisha?
Can I just add to the nomination?
Yeah, sure.
In addition to what you shared around Morgan, the other thing that I found to be quite impressive was previous membership on the Environmental Advisory Board, so has been on boards before from a different perspective, and I think could be a very valuable contribution to this board as well. Thank you.
Ryan?
It's okay. Mark beat me to nominating Nick, and I couldn't have said it better in terms of his qualifications. I am compelled though with what Nicole says about gender balance. So just want to say that. Thanks.
Great. Not seeing any other hands. Which direction are we? Okay, so reverse. So we'll start with Nick Phillipson. All in favor? We got 3. All in favor of Morgan Lamelli? That is 6. So Morgan gets that spot. All right, now we're to the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. We have 2 seats, seat number 1, which is for a 5-year term, and seat 4, which is for a 2-year term. Who'd like to make a nomination? Ryan?
I'd like to nominate Eliza Blood. Eliza is a super user of Park and Rec type domains and interviewed super well.
Others? Seeing no other nominations, then Eliza Blood gets seat number 1 by acclamation. Now we'll turn to seat number 4, the 2-year term. Who'd like to nominate? Yes, Taisha.
I would like to nominate Dana Reyes, primarily because of their experience in finance. And given the financial challenges of that particular department, having more finance chops would be welcome. Thank you.
Thanks. Tara.
I would like to nominate Channing Benson. He would be a great board member. I know I said this every time, but I'm not kidding. This time, I love this person's interview. It was great, and he got me really. I wish I could be on a board with him. That's how great I think he would be on a board.
Any others? Seeing none, we reverse. Alpha. Okay, so Channing Benson, all in favor. That's 6. So Channing will get that one. Seat number 4 for the 2-year term. Okay, we got planning board. We got seat number 1 seat for a 5-year term. Nominations, please. Matt.
I'd like to nominate Max Lord. It's hard to be brief for Max. So for one, Max is a contractor, and the fact that he works on a smaller scale is a perspective that we don't have and haven't had in probably a generation or two on planning board. We're usually focused on everything super large scale, but as we've seen recently, our code is as busted for large scale development as it is for small scale and homeowners, and I think that perspective will be immensely valuable. And I'm looking at Brad as we embark on a Title IX reform, hopefully here within
no
the next
policy
year.
issues here, Matt.
But as we embark on that, that perspective would be instrumental in helping understand the ripples that creates in our community when we fix that and knowing what truly works and what doesn't. Having a youthful voice on planning board is something we have not had in some time, so I think Max would be a great addition.
Thanks for that, Matt. Others? We had any other nominations? Tina?
I just feel badly for all the people who are just called not youthful.
If nobody else does.
But don't worry, we go by level, so we're just high level.
Yeah.
So don't even trip.
Okay, well, seeing nobody else is putting out a nomination, I will go ahead and nominate Robert Wilson for the spot. And I will say that I don't know if anybody, well, it doesn't look like anybody else is getting nominated. Between Max Lord and Bob Wilson, we are in extremely good hands here on planning board. I think we have 2 absolutely excellent applicants who will both take the city in positive directions. I did want to put Bob into the mix because I have been impressed with his architectural experience at Caddis Architecture. He has a deep knowledge of development and redevelopment issues around town that could serve us well as we finish out the comp plan and move into the post-comp plan items. But as I say, we are in very, very good hands no matter what. Yeah, Tara.
I also wanted to thank we have great candidates. I want to say shout out to Joe Foley. He keeps trying to get on, and he's a senior. So Joe, don't give up. That's what I tell you.
Yep, Mark, and then I got Nicole.
Yeah, I just want to second Tara's comment about Joe Foley. I think he's well qualified. We just haven't had the opportunity to put him on a board. I hope we will, and I hope he will continue to persist.
Nicole.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak a little bit to Max. Thank you, Matt, for nominating him. The range of people that Max has to work with in his business in terms of bringing together property owners trying to make changes, people within the city who are trying to get approval from with the code, the workers, the people who are actually building these things that he's constructing. I think that sort of collaborativeness is just so prominent with Max. I think it's a really useful skill. And also communication is something that I think Max is really excelling with. And I see that as something that's really valuable, especially on some of these more technical boards. I understand that there are some decisions that we cannot talk about, and the same is true for planning board, but where there is space to have that interaction with community and help people understand more of the complicated decisions we're making, I think that is a really valuable tool right now. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Seeing no other hands raised, are we in reverse alphabetical at this point? All right. So Robert Wilson, all in favor, raise your hand. We got 3. And so Maxwell Lord. That'll get 6. So Max gets it. Congrats. All right, we're at the Transportation Advisory Board. We've got one seat for a 5-year term. Seat number one, who would like to make a nomination? Brian.
I'd like to nominate Michael Mills. Michael is serving a partial term. I think it was my seat that he filled, and he's been doing a great job. And I think it'd be great to let him to continue.
Very good. Other nominations? Seeing none, Mike Mills gets it by acclamation. At the end, I will. Okay, now we got Water Resources Advisory Board. We got one seat for a 5-year term. Tara.
I would like to nominate Melissa Casson, who I know for a very long time. She's all about water. I mean, I know you have to be for this board, but she really is. And that's her field. That's what she does for a living. I think she'd be fantastic.
How did you feel about her interview?
I loved her interview.
That's great. Okay. Any others? Yep, Matt. And then Taisha.
That's funny. I'd like to nominate Marcia Greenblatt. With a PhD in water quality and being a professional and technical in this space, I mean, we often elicit very technically skilled folks for RAB, and I think Marcia would fit in quite well, especially given the stuff that we'll be continue to work on with a lot of our flood mitigation projects. I think Marcia would be just absolutely outstanding.
Okay, Taisha.
I'm gonna add on to Marcia.
Can you turn your mic?
I can, because my mic sounds nice, Mayor. Sorry. I wanted to just add that in addition to what you referenced, which I couldn't agree more on as far as the technical components, there's also being the chair on growing gardens. And so again, having that agricultural experience as well as board experience will be very critical to hit the ground running on this particular board. Thank you.
Great. Yes, Mark.
I just want to comment that year after year, the quality of the candidates for RAB is always outstanding, and this year is no different. And had we not put Monica Crosby on another board, you could flip a coin among any of these people and be delighted with your selection. So my compliments to the candidates. They are terrific.
Yeah, the quality of our water resources candidates is equivalent to the quality of our water itself. All right, are we in alphabetical? Okay, so alphabetical, so Marcia Greenblatt, all in favor? That's 7, so Marcia gets the seat. I'll do it. Okay, fantastic. So, Alicia, I've had a couple of questions about Bura. Is it possible to just go back to the slide that shows who got those seats, please?
Of course, sir.
So I'm just going to read the names off without identifying their seats, just to be clear. Catherine Bean, Stephanie Chen, Bwembia Chikolwa, Carla Graubard, Chester Harvey, Michael Achese, Chris Mon, Anya Richmond, and Bill Schrum. And we had a motion previously to designate that. Okay. We have gone through the entire process, so I would appreciate a motion.
I make a motion to approve our newly selected members of boards and commissions.
2026.
2026.
I'll second.
There it is.
There it is.
Do you want me to reread it exactly, or was that sufficient?
Would you please?
I will. A motion to approve the 2026. Whatever it does. I move to approve the 2026 boards and commissions appointments as noted, effective April 1st, April Fools 2026.
Second.
All right. Would you like a show of hands on this, Alicia? Or,
That will be sufficient, sir.
Okay. All in favor, please raise your hand. And that is unanimous. So a huge thank you to everyone who applied. I know it takes a lot of time, and putting yourself out there is not easy. There were fantastic interviews, fantastic applications, a record number of applicants. And I'm just very grateful to all of you. And I'm also grateful to our city attorney for what she's about to say.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm seeking a clarification, in particular on the Boulder Urban Renewal Authority and whether those appointments are effective immediately or whether they are effective April 1st. It's unclear to me whether you all had a motion and a vote with respect to Borough that was separate.
So we did. Would you like me to replace the previous motion with one that provides clarity on that question?
That would be helpful, Mayor, and I believe staff's preference is that that board would take its seats immediately so that it could be statutorily compliant.
Okay, since I made the previous motion, can I just offer a replacement motion for that?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I thought Burr was appointed by the mayor, but do we still vote on it?
It still has, it's appointed by the mayor but approved by the council. So I'm going to offer a replacement motion. So I move that we approve the 2026 appointments to Bureau as indicated before, effective immediately. Do you have a second? Okay, motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hands. And that is unanimous. So I'm grateful for that additional guidance. Thank you, Teresa. Mark.
A matter of clarification and personal interest. There is a BHP board meeting scheduled for next week. May I find out who is attending that on behalf of the City Council?
Thanks for bringing that up, Mark. So I'll look to the process for appointing. I believe we already did that, but is that not the case? For appointing the City Council's representative to Boulder Housing Partners?
It's my understanding that the City Council representatives took effect immediately when you all took that action.
Which action?
I think it was included in the committee appointments, so let me double check that.
That's my understanding. I just wanted to get that on the record. So it was when the City Council approved our City Council assignments to the commissions and committees.
To the committees, yes, sir.
Correct.
So Mark, you are already the duly designated representative for City Council to Boulder Housing Partners. So if you could go to the next meeting, that would be awesome.
I had it scheduled.
Okay, great. Appreciate your service. And with that, that brings us to the end of that item.
Mayor, if I may, I just want to
Yes.
say a thank you on behalf of me and John and the city clerk staff to our COM partners. This was a good recruitment this year, and I think it was in favor of the open house. But we know what it took for you guys to work with us to get the interviews done, review the applications, and my staff. Again, thank you both, Emily, John, Lisa, for just all the help that they did. But like I said, we couldn't have done it without you, the council, so thank you so very much.
So thanks, and Elisha and Emily and John and Lisa and all the many staff who participated in the interviews. That was an extraordinary amount of work, and just so appreciative. Was it 780 odd pages of the board and commission packet? The amount 788. Not that anybody was counting. So the amount of effort to do that was prodigious, and we deeply, deeply appreciate your assistance to get us all here. Thank you so much. Nicole?
I just also wanted to thank the folks who were involved in engagement and spreading the word about this. Clearly, we were very effective this year, and by we, I mean you. So thank you very much for giving us so many amazing applicants to choose from.
All right. So with that, well, that brings us to the end of our public hearing, and we have one more item on the agenda tonight.
Yes, sir. Last but of course not least, we have our item number 6, our matters from the city manager. 6A is the affordable housing matter, a review of the current state of affordable housing in Boulder.
All right, as we get Jay and Holly settled up here, I think Kurt is going to give our tee up an introduction to this agenda item.
Good evening, Council. Kurt Fernhaber with Housing and Human Services. So it's been a while since we've been here to give you an update on affordable housing, but I think the timing is perfect for this update for a couple of reasons. There's been a lot of conversations at this dais and in the community related to the Boulder Valley Comp Plan and affordable housing, as well as the outcome of the Dr. Cog study that came out last year, which identifies our housing needs, our housing gaps. And so tonight we're going to be giving not just an overview of our program, but what are the things we're focusing on, not just from a housing perspective, but from a people perspective as well. And we'll be addressing some of the questions and conversations that you've been having around the comp plan recently as well. And we look forward to your discussion afterwards. We also have Glenn Siguru here from the Boulder Valley School District. And we're often in conversations with the school district as it relates to housing. Jay Sugnet from HHS, and Holly Hendrickson, who will be giving our presentation tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Thank you so much. All right, so a review of affordable housing in Boulder, a nice little small topic the evening here. So for our agenda, I just wanted to go through the slides, but it's not working. Sorry.
Slide two.
It's on slideshow mode. I've done this.
If you minimize that window,
Minimize this.
just minimize it, don't close it.
I try that. What if I? You guys have done this before.
I have not. I don't know.
Yeah.
Why are elevator jokes good? Because they're funny on many levels.
Are you telling jokes?
What else do we do in the downtime?
I didn't understand.
You didn't hear it? Oh, let me start again. Why are elevator jokes good? They're funny on many levels.
Okay, we're back.
Sorry. I've done this before, so I don't know what happened. Okay. All right, just to quickly review the agenda of what we'll talk about tonight, we're just going to quickly go over some definitions, review the current state of the housing, the ownership and rental markets, a quick discussion about the city's policy interventions, and we then wanted to pull out some highlights and innovations in our program, and then just a quick slide about next steps. So just to start this conversation, we just wanted to highlight and point out that from its founding, Boulder has been shaped by exclusivity, and the real estate prices in the city have always reflected that exclusivity. In 2021, the city hosted a housing equity symposium that helped frame out some of these issues in like the larger historical context, and continues to be a really good resource for us today. I also wanted to highlight in terms of like the history of things, just our timeline of affordable housing efforts. This is in the memo as an attachment, but just wanted to point out that for decades, since the mid-60s, that the city has been working on housing affordability. Our housing authority was formed almost a half century ago, and so it was way back then when the city had recognized that we had an affordability problem. Two other things to just highlight in this long timeline of activities. In 2000, Boulder was one of the first cities in the nation to pass an inclusionary housing ordinance, which is like a bedrock of our program today. And then the last thing I'll just highlight quickly here is our Boulder County Regional Housing Partnership. It was established, I think, in 2017, and we are active participants in this regional housing partnership with the goal of really trying to address and solve problems at a regional level, not just within the city. So a quick like back to the basics definitions, just so we're all on the same page. Affordable housing, when we're talking about affordable housing, we are indicating that housing is affordable and households are paying no more than 1/3 of their income on housing. Permanently affordable housing in the city has a specific definition, and that is that any housing unit, whether it be rental or ownership, that has a deed restriction on that home that protects its affordability in perpetuity. And then area median income, the AMI, used lots throughout this presentation and the memo. It just means that half of the households make less than that 100% AMI and half make more. And in 2025, the AMI was just over 135,000 for a household of 3. So we wanted to kind of start with this graph to just frame out like what the problem is that we're trying to solve. So this graph shows it between the years of 2010 and 2025, 3 data points. The first one at the bottom, the red, is that AMI number. The blue is the median price of a sale, the median sales price of an attached home, and then the yellow is that median sales price of a detached home. And so we can see that AMI has remained stagnant over time, but the price of homes has really risen. So the problem we're trying to solve is how do we make sure that folks making at or below that 100% AMI level can afford to live in a city where homes are at these high prices. Another thing we wanted to do in the memo to lay out and to kind of like help kind of figure out where we are in all of this is just to give you a better sense of what the housing market looks like. So this data is a point in time look at the residential real estate market using MLS data on a specific day. So each dot on this graph represents a house for sale on this day. So the yellow dots are those detached or single unit homes, and the blue dots are those attached condos, townhouses. We've added the 400, these red dashes to, middle income ownership is a huge conversation in the city. And so we wanted to add these dashes to just kind of give a sense of what affordability looks like and what is available for those middle income households in the city. And so using this data, this point in time data, we can see that two trends are really emerging. The first is that these detached homes, this yellow cloud of dots, the detached homes are really not affordable for middle income earners. At this point in time, on this date in January, there were more homes for sale for $20 million than there were for middle income households. The other trend that emerged is, so conversely, in the attached home, there's lots of availability and affordability of condos and townhouses within the city for those middle income earners. But while abundant in choices in that condo market, in that attached home market, the choices are certainly constrained by what the type of unit that's available to these households. So the choices are just different for different groups. Like that graph looks a lot different if you have a families with young children than if you're a young professional looking for a home than if you're an older adult. And so the choice for middle income buyers is often to compromise on the housing type, the actual housing unit that you want to purchase in exchange for the amenities of the city, or to exit the city to find the actual housing type that you want to purchase. We also, in this graph, I also added this 10-year gap. So we wanted to kind of offer some numbers to like help wrap our hands around the scale of the issue. So this 10-year gap number is a DRCOG number of the DRCOG's housing needs assessment. And in the next 10 years, they have identified this shortage of 3,500 homes, for sale homes that we're going to have a shortage of in the next 10 years. And this 682 number is that home gap for that kind of middle income, home ownership gap for middle income range, that 80 to 120% AMI. Boulder's rental market is vastly different from its ownership market. So using that same DRCOG data, the largest rental gaps, that biggest shortage in the city is going to be those units that are affordable to households earning under 50% of the area median income. Again, using that same data from DRCOG, that 10-year gap for rental homes, any price rental homes is about 6,000 homes, but 77% of those, or about 4,600 of those rental homes, need to be affordable to households earning 50% of the area median income. One thing we wanted to just point out, and we pointed it out in the memo, is the finding from Dr. Cog and for this data point is really consistent with previous needs assessments we've done. We did one 2 years ago and then 10 years ago that shows that the middle income households have abundant rental options, where it's these lower than 50% AMI is really where we see the gap. The last thing I'll point out on this slide is this bar chart that we have. Shows the area median income distribution of affordable housing renters. So who is living in affordable rental units today and what is their AMI levels? And from this data, we can see that the majority of renters, affordable renters in our city are earning less than 30% of the area median income. So we just wanted to point out, like Dr. Cog emphasizes, this 0 to 50. Our program has, this 0 to 50 has been a focus of our program for many years. And we've consistently tried to find opportunities that are targeted to populations with very low income, seniors with fixed income, people with disabilities, and individuals exiting homelessness, for example. All right, so we can just shift now to talk about the various housing policy interventions that the city has implemented over the past several decades. So we'll just break it down, some supply side interventions, demand side interventions, and then pulling out those kind of innovations and highlights. So the supply side interventions, this is all in your memo, but basically it's what is the city doing to help build more homes? How are we increasing the supply of homes in our city? We've done that in a variety of ways, lots of zoning reform in recent years, a robust inclusionary housing program, several waves of ADU deregulation, heightened density bonuses, partners use low-income housing tax credits to get those affordable rentals in the city, and then the city's also done a lot of streamlining in their permitting process. But the one thing to highlight at the top here is our local housing trust fund, or our affordable housing fund. So our affordable housing fund, we call it the workhorse of our program. The local funding sources really drive those investments in affordable units throughout the city. And in the past 10 years, those local funds, we've invested $142 million of local funds into affordable housing in the city. This bar chart just offers a sense of what those funding sources are. So a few things to highlight here: cash in lieu is the majority of our funding source, that workhorse. And then the other thing to highlight is 87% of all of our funding for affordable housing comes from local sources. So those local sources are very powerful. And the local funding definitely matters. So our funding helps support developing a wide variety of housing types and helps support this geographic disbursement throughout the city. So this map is offers an affordable housing. It's like where the affordable homes are throughout the city, the darker colors indicating the higher unit counts. And you can see that affordable housing really is everywhere. It's in almost every neighborhood in the city. It's like whether you know it or not, it's kind of a part of the infrastructure of the city. One thing we wanted to highlight about these local sources and our inclusionary and our program is that using the tools that we have and how we're using the tools, we're outperforming what our inclusionary housing requirement is. So our inclusionary housing program requires this 25% of new residential development to be permanently affordable, but in recent years, we've outperformed that. So for every 100 new homes built, we have 37 permanently affordable homes. Our total counts here, we have over 4,300 units of permanently affordable homes throughout the city, which represents 8.9% of our total housing stock, housing over 9,000 people. This graph from our data dashboard just shows that unit development over time, to just give you a sense about the years and kind of how that's progressed. The yellow indicates home ownership units and the blue indicates those rental units. And then we also wanted to, I guess, kind of brag in front of you all. So this came out, there's a report that came out a few weeks ago that shows essentially the top producers of affordable apartments throughout the nation. But I wanted to just highlight, so I highlighted this column, this yellow column that shows the share of affordable apartments. So this data, we have a 37% of our recent development have been affordable, and you can see that we're outperforming all of the top producers of affordable housing throughout the nation. None of these other jurisdictions have reached that 37%. So demand side housing interventions. So supply side, how are we building more houses? Demand side is how we're helping people, how we're supporting people to either get into housing or maintain the housing that they have. Again, the city does this in a variety of ways: housing choice vouchers, rent subsidies, property tax relief, income supports. We also have a very robust emergency rental assistance and tenant protection program. But I'll just point to two of our home buyer assistance programs to highlight here. So our house to home ownership, our H2O program, is a down payment assistance program. It's a typical shared appreciation loan structure. It's nothing super creative. It's a very well-known type of product for both lenders and borrowers. The city has invested, since its inception in the year 2000, the city has invested $730,000, but the revolving nature of the fund has allowed the city to support, to serve 94 households with a total loan amount of $3.2 million. The city also has, we also have a middle income down payment assistance pilot program that was launched a few years ago. And it's proving not to be as a competitive product to this. We've had no takers of that loan so far. And then we also want to highlight our affordable homeownership program. So our affordable homeownership program, we have 836 permanently affordable homes. These homes are sold at below market rate, and they each have an affordability covenant that limits their resale value. We've recently expanded the scope of this program. It's now a regional program to kind of try to take on this issue on a regional level. And we also wanted to highlight that we regularly survey the residents of, or the affordable homeowners in the program, to get a sense of, to get their feedback on the program, and also try to identify different pain points that they are feeling in the program. We did this back in 2025, and we found that 85% of homeowners would be repeat purchasers, so it's a broadly popular program for those who participate. And the biggest pain point is HOAs. So HOAs continue to be a problem. This isn't a new finding, and it's probably not news to anyone here. But there's been fewer special assessments in this last. Respondents reported fewer special assessments, but have overall higher monthly HOA fees. All right, so now we wanted to, like I said, kind of pull out some of the highlights and innovations of our program. So one thing we wanted to highlight from the top is the partnerships that we have in the community really make all of this possible. So of all the affordable rental homes developed in the city, 74% have been developed by a nonprofit organization, and Boulder Housing Partners is a huge partner here. So to emphasize this point, last year we added 186 new affordable homes to our portfolio, and 173 of those were developed and are now managed by Boulder Housing Partners. Another thing to highlight here is just the broad community support that affordable housing has received over the years. There's a lot of examples of this, too much to go over right now, but just to highlight a few things, City Council has been broadly supportive of these local impact fees, and then the community itself has been willing to put a tax on themselves to support affordable housing. Most recently through the Boulder County Affordable and Attainable Housing Tax, and then also Proposition 123. An innovation we wanted to highlight is our middle income scattered site acquisition program. So in this program, homes are purchased. We're purchasing homes on the open market, rehabbing those homes, and then selling them at below market rate. Their affordability is protected by this covenant, which limits resale value over time. So far, we've acquired 20 homes this way, and we found that it's the most cost-effective way to add new affordable homeownership homes to our portfolio. The average subsidy goes from anywhere between $90,000 to $185,000, depending on the size of the unit. And we've received funding from Proposition 123 to support this program, both at the city and to try to figure out how to do it at a regional level. And then, of course, Boulder Mod. We don't need to go to the specifics of Boulder Mod. We all know the specifics, but it's really the next frontier in the city's affordable homeownership portfolio. We're anticipating 25 to 30 affordable homes being added per year with Boulder Mod. And just to highlight here, the partnership between the city, the school district, and Flatirons Habitat for Humanity makes it possible. And then finally, our last innovation to highlight is this Bloomberg Harvard City Leadership Innovation Track. So there's a city team that participated in this innovation track last year. We followed this very specific path to public innovation, and the topic that we were tackling was affordable and attainable housing. HHS has since the program has ended, HHS has taken the lead and continues to pursue some of the ideas that came up and arose during that process. And more generally, we're really trying to kind of take on that innovation methodology, that innovation mindset in our work. And then next steps. So really we're just seeking continued support for policies and work that expand those housing choices to households who are currently priced outside of our market. A few ways that we've highlighted in the memo, we'll just briefly mention here: continued zoning reforms, prioritizing those deep subsidies for those acute rental gaps that we see, refine and expanding the down payment assistance. Like I mentioned, it's a broadly successful program, and just figuring out how to expand it. IH, inclusionary housing, is super important for our program, and just maintaining support for that IH is critical. And then sustained support for innovations. We try to really take an innovative lens in how we're approaching this problem, and sustained support from you all is great. And that's all. That's all I have. Thanks.
Well, Holly, thanks for that fantastic presentation, but more importantly, thanks for all the work that you and Jay and Kurt and the rest of the Housing and Human Services folks do. Seeing those statistics about how we're a national leader is truly impressive, but validates what we already know about the quality of the program. So huge thanks for all of that. Questions for city staff? Mark, Tina.
Given the size of the population that's 0 to 50% AMI relative to, say, 80 to 120% AMI, is the message of this that we need to shift focus from providing middle income purchase opportunities to serving that community, which is so much larger? Because a lot of our focus has been middle income housing, attainable housing, how to keep people from moving out when it's time for them to buy a house. But is that population so small relative to the 0 to 50% AMI that our focus is misplaced? And if it is, what's the solution given the size of the subsidies that are going to be necessary to support 0 to 50% AMI rental housing?
You don't want to take that? Good evening, Jay Sugnett with Housing and Human Services. That's a great question. I don't think our intent is to say one is more important than the other. Housing and Human Resources, or Housing and Human Services, our staff time, I would say, is disproportionately spent on the homeownership challenge. We rely on our partners to build affordable rentals that serve that 0 to 50% of area median income. We have, there's federal tax credits, there's state tax credits, there's lots of programs for that 0 to 50. The challenge is the subsidy is so much higher for middle income, right? So from our perspective, we just don't want to lose sight of where that true need is, that 0 to 50, to continue those programs. but still look at other opportunities to increase the opportunities for middle-income households as well.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, pretty much. And before I forget, would it be possible to get a copy of that slide showing our performance relative to the other cities? That was very reassuring.
Yes, of course. And this came out after we sent the memo out, so it would have made it in there otherwise.
And another thing before I forget, and I think I've expressed this to you, but I want to do it publicly. I thought your memo on where we are on housing was simply first rate and as good a memo as I have ever read. So thank you very much for explaining our housing policies with such clarity. My last question is, and this has been sort of plaguing me for a long time. Every developer chooses cash in lieu rather than providing affordable housing. What would be the difference in cost if you had a 100-unit project and had to provide either 25% affordable housing or a cash in lieu payment? How much are we, in effect, getting shortchanged by doing the cash in lieu versus requiring actual construction of affordable housing?
I think this one's me too. Yes, so
You can phone a friend.
I don't have specific numbers for you unless Kurt has his calculator out right now. But initially, when the program started back in 2000, that cash in lieu was commensurate with the cost to build a new unit. What's happened is that over time, that gap between what it costs to build a unit and what we could charge in cash in lieu grew. So basically, it costs to build a unit on site costs significantly more than the cash in lieu. If we charged cash in lieu that was equivalent to that unit, projects would not be feasible anymore. So if you recall from our 2022 update to the inclusionary housing ordinance, part of that was a feasibility study. What can we charge and ensure that the projects remain feasible?
And what's the magnitude of the gap between the two?
Well,
2 times, 3 times?
Yeah. I mean, so maybe think of it this way. So every dollar that we get in local funds, we can leverage 2, 3, and sometimes 4 through state and federal sources.
Okay.
But I would say it's probably comparable.
Okay. Thank you, and again, thank you for that memo. It was terrific.
Yeah, thank you. This was great, and I appreciate it. One question I have when we look at the DRCOG data, and also when we think about the percent of our population that is below 50%, how are CU students who live in the city that are probably around 33,000, how are they contemplated in that data? Do they make up part of the group of people that are below income? How does that work?
I'm actually not sure how CU students are calculated in the DRCOG. Do you? They're counted in if they're using census data, right? Yeah. So they're counted as part of the population.
Okay, and so that they don't generally qualify for our affordable housing, particularly the undergraduates. So do we kind of calibrate our need to take into consideration the different we have such a unique situation in Boulder with our student population?
Yeah, when I presented the DRCOG report back in August, my caution was try not to fixate on the numbers themselves and more on the magnitude of the numbers, and just to illustrate where that need is and where you should focus your efforts. So I can't tell you that we've calibrated specifically to account for the students. And Kurt has something else.
Yeah, if I can just add a second data point to that as well. So in our current affordable housing stock, that 3,700 units or whatever it is of rental housing that we have, the price point or the units that are most in demand are actually in the like 15 to 30% AMI. That's where we have a lot of demand for housing that are not students. For Boulder Housing Partners, their average renter is at 27% of the area median income. So that's where we're just seeing a really high demand. So it really lines up with the Dr. Cog study as well. Affordable apartments in our program that are in the 60% AMI, that's where we're going to have vacancies. That's typically where it is.
Okay. And then my other question is, do we know, we've been talking a lot about housing yield by student, and I noticed that Glenn Segru, what is the yield like in our affordable housing program? Do we find that it's higher, or have we ever looked at the yield of students in the affordable program versus the non-affordable housing units? I'm not even sure that's possible.
Yeah, Glenn Segru, senior planner for BVSD. It's a tough question. Maybe a few spot checking over the years on affordable units. I know the Holiday Network did definitely beat the city as an average after it was built. Those numbers have come down a little bit as they've aged, which is typical. In the general consensus, I know with other school districts is cheaper housing does have higher yields, and we've had a few affordable products, apartments in other jurisdictions that have had incredibly high yields for the type of units that they had. So that's about as much as we have worked with specifically with designated affordable units. We could potentially do a study along those lines with some corroboration on data and things like that, but we don't have it right now.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's great. Okay, and then my final question was on the slide that had the blue dots and the yellow dots. In this moment in time, are there lots of blue dots compared to usual, or lots of yellow dots, or is that pretty much like it is usually?
I think it's pretty much as usual. Yeah.
Thank you.
Can you remind us what the blue and the yellow dots
The blue dots are the
represent?
attached housing, so the condos and townhomes. The yellow cloud was the attached, the detached homes, those single unit homes.
Thanks for the reminder. Is that good? All right, I got Matt, Taisha, and Ryan.
All right, I got a couple questions. One centered on our AH goals and the other on the middle income down payment assistance program. So I'm trying to reconcile how we're getting to our goal of 15% by 2035. And I know that with 127 units that we've averaged, but this year we're at 37. That math seems steep to reach our goal. And so I just want to maybe check in on the reality of if we are going to maintain that 127 units per year, we're going to be at 11%. We're going to be 1,900 units short. And we'd have to keep that 37 per year pace exactly for 9 years to get to that number. So, I mean, that's a really high bar, and that is executing perfection at a really high level. And those numbers we're pointing out are exceptionally good at a national level, but that's a really hard, consistent line to keep. So I just want to sort of check in, like, how are we going to meet those goals? Because that is a pretty hard bar to hit with these averages that we're at, in spite of how successful we are. Might our goals be too high, or did we just not make enough progress at certain phases of this process?
Yeah, I would say I think we're making fantastic progress. So you have to think about what is the purpose of that 15% goal. So I think the mayor was here as part of that discussion. So, and part of that conversation was, do we have something that's aspirational or something that's realistic? And we presented options of both. So we could keep it at 10%, we could raise it to 20, be incredibly aspirational. And council at the time chose something middle ground, something that's realistic, but also more aspirational to push ourselves. So will we make the 15% by 2035? I don't know, but I think we're doing quite well.
Okay. I mean, I appreciate what the previous council some long time ago thought, and I'm not trying to date your time on staff, but it certainly predates. I mean, predates a lot of us on council, and so anyway, just curious about how to reconcile that. So we're having an honest conversation with our community. I think that's the biggest part, because I think a lot of folks think this is a real goal versus maybe mostly aspirational. But we should check in on that down the road. Next question has to do with the middle income down payment assistance program. $10 million of voter approved money continues to go unused. So I'm wondering how do you envision us restructuring this program or thinking about this new so we can sort of meet that intended goal that the voters had? Keeping in mind, this was a massively important thing that we tried to accomplish. And I think that there's still some success to be found. But what's the goal to repurpose this and find a way to really get this going so we can support those middle income families and those seeking middle income housing?
Yeah, so our proposal is to focus more on the H2O program. So the program that's been successful that a lot of people have been using. And the benefit of that one is that it's evergreen. So it's a revolving loan fund. So as people pay off their loans, we have more money to loan to other people. I think the challenge is that we're not getting permanent affordability. We're helping someone for the first rung of ownership, potentially. But I think the pilot was really focused on how do we get more deed restricted. So the $10 million, we have not drawn on that credit, and because we wanted to test it, basically. We wanted to see, is this program that people would be interested in? So we were going to borrow money from the H2O program if someone took us up on this offer. So it'll be August of this year. It'll be 3 years since we started offering the pilot. And if you compare it side by side, pretty much every applicant has chosen the H2O route. So I would say we don't see a perfect path forward to utilizing that $10 million because it's still debt that we would incur and would have to pay back. So that's part of the challenge. And then the last thing I would add is just through the Bloomberg work, that was super helpful for us to think about what is innovation? And one of the things they sort of instilled upon us was if you want to sort of cultivate this culture of innovation, you have to be willing to fail. You have to go out there and otherwise no one on city staff is going to be willing to try something new. So part of it is being willing to let it go.
I appreciate that, and that's what experiments are for. Coming from that science background, failure is the best actual pathway to innovation. So I appreciate that. So I guess maybe it's a question for city attorney. We have this voter approval to use $10 million of debt, and so do we let it idle? Do we ask the voters to repurpose it for something that might work, maybe to repurpose to H2O, maybe to something else? So I don't know what the answer is, but I'm just sort of curious what you guys think is the best way to do it. Otherwise, it's sort of just, it's hanging out there as a unfulfilled promise to the voters. And I just think we owe it to them to either say, hey, we got a new plan for this money or something. And I'm just sort of curious if that could be something that staff helps us cultivate.
Appreciate it. I think we'll continue to look at it, absolutely. And if you have ideas, please let us know.
Appreciate it.
Taisha, then Ryan.
Thank you. So I appreciate my colleagues' questions around the cash in lieu. I've always had concerns around that, and to just have it validated that it doesn't math at all, is very concerning. So I don't know what the process is or next steps for that, but it seems to me anything that has 1 + 1 = 5 needs to be revisited. As far as I was curious what happened in 2014. So in the graph that started at 2000, and it had a larger percentage of home ownership, and then it just went down drastically. I mean, it was very drastic. So I was just curious if there was a specific incident, or I know a lot of these programs are identified years in advance before. So I was just kind of curious if there was anything in particular that caused that.
Yes. So when we started the program in 2000, a lot of the development in the city was ownership. And I could recall a memo to City Council where, City Council was concerned that we weren't producing enough rentals for people to live in. There was too much ownership. So the market traditionally has swung back and forth, but what you're seeing in that graph is actually the 2008 housing crisis. So it took a little while, but that's really when the market shifted significantly. So pretty much everything built now Just the economics are behind rental as opposed to ownership.
And then, thank you. That was very helpful. I had a feeling I was like, something happened. And then lastly is just the federal role. And I'm still always curious, especially in the last year, as we're looking at those programs you mentioned. And I know that weaving of different funding sources and revenue is absolutely critical for this type of work. Just curious what percentage, or do we have a better sense of the impacts of the different programs that would have traditionally funded some of these components that no longer exist or are in flux? I'm just kind of curious what that federal impact is looking like right now.
Absolutely. So the federal or share has gotten smaller over the past decade or more. But actually, I would say that with the recent appropriations by Congress, that all of our federal funding specifically for housing have either stayed level or increased. So housing has been extremely fortunate in that regards. Also, the low-income housing tax credit program was expanded probably more than ever in its history in 2025 as well. So, housing is sort of a bipartisan issue, and it's definitely become a national issue. So I would say, compared to most other federal programs, we're doing quite well.
And then lastly, on just utilities, I'm kind of curious now that water and energy costs are going up, if that's impacting any of your home ownership or rental programs.
In the survey we did last year, folks did their overall housing costs have gone up, but not in comparison, like disproportionate to their income going up. So for the folks in our affordable homeownership program, it doesn't seem, at least in the survey, the respondents that participated, doesn't seem to be disproportionately impacting them. I don't know if there's other, yeah.
Definition question. So can one be middle income and still be in affordable something if they're making more? I mean, because it's based on how much your income is spent on housing, but you can still be middle. I'm noticing some interplay in the terminology that's been making it very difficult to assess the data that's provided. So
I'll just say for the home ownership program, you income qualify once. So you're not continuously income qualifying, but I don't know if you want to speak to the rental interplay. Sorry.
I'm not sure, is that the question, or is it more?
Can you be both middle
levels?
Income and in affordable housing? I mean,
Yes, so,
you can have both designations. Yeah. Is possible.
The homeownership program, really isn't intended to serve the lower incomes. So we're talking about typically most folks in the ownership program are earning 60% of area median income, all the way up to 120%. And our latest program, if you're lucky enough to get into a single family home, the pricing can go up to 150%. So that we try to provide as large of a range as possible. But what we just need to be careful of is, we're not competing with the market for specific pricing for those homes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
I was out of the room for part of this, but I was watching from the screen in the other room, and I was about 12 inches away from the screen because it really was an outstanding presentation. And some things I liked about it. I loved the overall primer. You made this issue really easy to understand. The data graphics were really wonderful. The way that you talked about innovation towards the end, and then you dealt with history at the beginning, and you went back and discussed indigenous peoples and some of the reckoning that we are starting to do now more of, and some of which Councilmember Adams has advocated for. And I just wanted to recognize that this is great and a nice template maybe for the city manager's office to think about for other what good looks like for other departments. So thanks for that. I think I have three questions. First one is on the housing ownership side of things. And when we think about permanently affordable assistance at the 60% to 100%, kind of like the middle-ish area, can you just summarize what are we thinking now in terms of our kind of key opportunities to provide assistance at real scale, or what's needed if we don't have that kind of thinking yet?
So yeah, that's our biggest challenge, right? Ownership. So there aren't the same federal supports like you get for low-income rentals. So Boulder Mod. It's a great example of how we're trying to insert ourselves in the market where the market isn't delivering what we want, what we need. So Boulder Mod, we invested significant funds to build this factory and to increase the production of Habitat, who are actually in the audience with us. So 25 to 30 units a year. So that's one big strategy. The next one has to do with our scatter site acquisition. So we've acquired 20 homes in the past 3 years. We hope to scale that up and do it regionally, as Holly mentioned. So hopefully we'll do another 30 or 40 in the next 2 years. And then annexations is sort of our other big tool, right? So we can require a higher level of community benefit for annexations, and typically that's ownership. And we require deed restricted permanently affordable ownership. So those are basically the three big tools, but it's all always limited by resources, of course. And all of those programs are very staff intensive as well.
What about the idea of using publicly owned land? I mean, it's not specific to Area 3, but it could include Area 3. Using the land value that the city could, principally be providing at no cost. Like how does that fit in as an opportunity to provide that permanent affordability?
It's a fantastic opportunity for land that Housing and Human Services owns. So in Housing and Human Services, we specifically own 30 acres in the planning reserve. So basically no-cost land for future development. Something that is, land that is owned by the city by another department or another purpose, so facilities or open space, typically that's purchased with specific monies. And if we were to repurpose that for housing, typically we would have to pay market value for that land. So no real advantage there from my perspective. It'd be just like buying it on the market.
Just to clarify, is there an easy way for somebody to look at a land use map and understand which departments, I guess, have jurisdiction over the various parcels?
I'm not aware.
Not from a land use map, but we do have an inventory tracking kind of which department is the manager of various parcels in the city.
Okay, go ahead.
And I would just add, so land banking is one of our strategies of purchasing land in the planning reserve. Our housing authority does it quite often. 30 Pearl was an example of land banking. Alpine Balsam was an example of land banking for future affordable. Boulder Housing Partners also purchased a property in Gun Barrel. So, I mean, it's an example. But yeah, in terms of existing city-owned land, as Chris said,
great.
It's all owned by different people.
Thank you. That does raise some new questions, but I'll move on because we need to keep going. What about to what extent can you, when you look at current permanently affordable housing of all types that we have stock of, is there a way that you can look at it and get a sense of the costs of the whole property and what's embedded into that what costs are embedded into that from the development aspects, including like infrastructure or other aspects that might give us clues as we go forward to making decisions about making sure we're embedding the lowest cost type of development that we can. Like can you look into it and do some taxonomy or characterization like that?
To understand your question, you're wanting us to look forward at a future development and what those components of development would be?
Yeah, and a hypothetical would be like if we say, well, the infrastructure is going to cost, $5 million, but somebody would say, well, but the developer is going to bear that. But I would assume that some of that gets embedded into the housing costs. So if you would agree with that assumption, then what I'm getting at is like, are there costs that get embedded into our permanently affordable housing that perhaps upstream we could be thinking about?
Yeah. So the last study that we had for the inclusionary housing update, which was 3 years ago, that study looked at different development types within the city. And so we were able to see what the cost of construction was for different housing types. That would be the last study where we would be able to pull out that type of information. But as far as a strategy, the planning reserve or other parsers where we can add value through the entitlement process, that's something where we can keep at least the land costs lower. So for example, at 30 Pearl, we bought the Pollard Motor site, and we paid market rate for it. However, once it was entitled, the value of that property went up. We were able to sell some of that land off for market development, and that increase in value was able to help us offset the cost of the affordable housing that was built on that same site. So one of the things that we've been thinking about in our department is how do we cut some of that? And so we're looking at sort of being developers ourselves. We're kind of doing that with Boulder Mod. We're doing that with Ponderosa. We're in the process of purchasing a site in East Boulder where we would, sort of be the developer as well. And so we're cutting out some of those areas to create those efficiencies. So I think that's an approach that I think most cities, aren't really looking at.
Thanks. Okay, last question. Has the team noodled all on like the so-called Vienna model, which I suppose you could call social housing, and where I think the basic idea is the city, the government owns the land, and then we have renters, and you sort of we own the land in perpetuity and provide rental. Feel free to critique if I didn't get that exactly right, but I'm just wondering, have you looked at this kind of space at all, and what, if any, opportunity is there for us?
I was just going to say we noodle on that idea a lot. No. I think one thing I'll say is maybe not specifically to the Vienna model, but we are continuously looking at other models and trying to figure out if we can kind of glean lessons, take different models, recognizing that we're a smaller city compared to like a Vienna and don't have like the same historical context. But I think I certainly noodle on those ideas. I'm sure for you.
Yeah, I think there's actually a lot of similarities between what we're doing in the Vienna model. So Boulder Housing Partners is a separate entity from us, but it's a quasi-governmental agency. They are our biggest landlord in the city of Boulder, besides CU. And so the only real difference in looking at the Vienna model, in my view, between what we're doing is that we have certain rules. Some of them come through the IRS rules under the tax credits or our home rule requirements. When people reach a certain income level, they eventually need to move out. If they're making 120% of the AMI and they've got a 40% AMI unit, they eventually have to move out when their lease comes up next. With the Vienna model, that's their apartment for life. So that's really the main difference, I think, between our two models. But I think we have a significant stake in the ownership of affordable housing in our city.
Thank you. Thanks for allowing me all that time.
Very good. I got Nicole and Tara.
Thank you. I'm just going to echo the thanks for this presentation. It is so nice to see all of this information in one place. So I really appreciate all that you've done to get here. So this question kind of combines some of the interests that I always hear from many people around single family, middle income homeownership opportunities with our rapidly aging population. Our aging population has really limited access to accessible options like single floor homes and assisted living opportunities in our city. I think this is why the last I heard, Fraser Meadows had a wait list of over 800 people, which is so many. We usually talk about building new housing for younger families as being the solution to get more families to move here. And I'm wondering if an additional solution could be expanding the number of accessible or supportive housing options so that people could downsize when typical single family features no longer fit their needs, like stairs or large yards or things like that. Over many, many decades, we've created a situation where many homeowners are just stuck in their homes and don't really have options to leave. So just wondering about if there are opportunities for programs that create attractive options for people to downsize, and if that's something that might then help expand the single-family housing options using our existing stock of single-family homes, which seems like it's going to be a lot cheaper than building new ones.
So during the Bloomberg work, we actually this was one of the ideas that we prototyped, was like how to kind of create that conversation or encourage that kind of like downsizing moving. It wasn't a very popular idea amongst the people that we tested it with. Were primarily with we tested it like the older adult centers at East and West. It wasn't a very popular idea, and one thing that we took from that, we said, okay, maybe not the best way to think about this problem right now, if it's really a problem. And we've pivoted to looking at the concept of home sharing, like establishing a home sharing, like a regional home sharing again, we're like just testing it out to figure out how to help folks who want to stay in their home, help them stay in their home through different types of home sharing model. I don't know if that's satisfactory, because during that process, it was just not a popular idea.
Okay,
Can I just add, but the concept of universal design, I think that's where society is moving towards. And we try to articulate that in the comprehensive plan as well. So a diversity of housing types and price points is a very important concept. It's a little bit more challenging to implement that. So Boulder Housing Partners, I think, does a pretty good job making sure that they have as many units that are accessible as possible. Their challenge is that when that unit becomes available, there isn't always someone readily available to move into them, or who would need that. So they end up retrofitting sort of in between renters. So yeah, it's a challenging thing, but I agree, it's something that as a society we should be moving towards.
Thank you. And then my other question was just, given that the middle income homeownership really represents a relatively small share of the projected need and what we have, are our existing tools like down payment assistance sufficient to meet that need in the coming years? So especially if we could, think about opportunities to expand some of the existing programs. Basically, do we need a lot more, given that that need is a relatively small chunk of what we're looking for?
I think with like the menu of options that we're doing, Boulder Mod, the scattered site acquisition, down payment assistance program, I mean, we're kind of approaching it in a really wide variety of ways that, with enough resources, with enough focus, could be sufficient. I don't know.
If I could tie that to a question that Councilmember Benjamin asked earlier as well. He was asking about the goal, and the regional goal was 12%. We brought that to City Council. All the municipalities in Boulder County approved the 12% goal. This council or councils in this room have often been more aspirational. And so I think that's partly where the 15%, and that was like to push us to work towards that. Since that conversation occurred, since the conversation occurred 3 years ago with inclusionary housing, where the middle income conversation was the main conversation, we've shifted a higher percentage of our local dollars towards home ownership, with still maintaining a good output of the lower income rental. So we're probably spending it 2 to 3 times more on these programs around homeownership than we were, 4 or 5 years ago. So we're trying to sort of create that balance. And towards the 15% goal, the pipeline of projects that we have right now, I think I'm pretty sure that we're gonna hit the 12% goal by 2035. I think you're correct that the 15% is going to be very difficult. But I think more importantly, having that mix of housing types and not just focusing on one area is sort of a strategy that we've been working on since hearing from various councils about the various needs.
Okay, great. Let's see if we can move pretty briskly through the remaining questions. I've got Tara's got one, Rob's got one, I've got a quick one, and then we'll come back to Mark for a double dip.
Actually, I have two quick ones, but other people had more. I'm just pointing that out. Okay. Anyway, first question, and I might have been not paying attention. Full disclosure, I was exhausted from the boards and commission. All right, so how, demand-wise, do we have a lot of demand for the, my brain is not working anymore. Do we have it, how is our demand for people buying homes versus renting them in the affordable housing world? Do we have a higher demand? And how is our supply compared to our demand?
I would say in both instances, demand exceeds supply.
So we have more people that actually want to buy in the affordable housing program that we have affordable housing for, and that's why we're all excited about Boulder Mod. And so now you're trying to make more options for buying. That's what you just said, right? That's great. Thank you. Because I was worried that because you don't make as much, the percentage of the home increasing in value is so much lower in affordable housing that it would have turned people off, and they would have rather have moved to like Thornton or something. So you're not finding that?
Yep.
That's great. Good. Oh, that was fast enough? Okay, great. Next one. This has nothing to do with the subject, but it's probably for Kurt. It does in a little bit of ways. So, we combine vouchers with people that are renting in affordable housing. And some of the vouchers are for people that have mental illness or drug addictions, et cetera. And so we combine that. And I'm with working families, single moms with kids that are trying to just have a good day, have a good life. So my question is some of the people who are calling me are saying that single moms and their kids are actually leaving our affordable housing, particularly maybe the private ones. And I'm wondering if you have any data. Yes, I'm asking for data. That's right. I don't usually, but I'm asking for data if you have that or you think it's just hearsay.
I don't think we have any data on that, but as you know, part of our homeless strategy that we started in 2017 was to start integrating unhoused individuals into every affordable housing rental development, and we've done that. You're correct that sometimes comes with challenges. What we have seen is the vast majority of those unhoused individuals are successful in that transition. It only takes one individual, however, to create a lot of challenges within a development. And typically we coordinate around that with PD, code compliance, and with clinical family health and All Roads, really trying to bring the services they need for them to be successful. But the last thing I'll just mention that's been a challenge when our state law made it more difficult for evictions, we're seeing two impacts to that. One is a lot of our private and affordable housing developers are not wanting to accept individuals who have a high risk because it's so difficult to evict them. And then we end up with that one individual that's challenging, takes 4 months, you know, to go through an eviction process, and it has an impact on the neighbors. It's something that we've worked very hard on, and I think in many properties we're improving, but that will continually be a challenge for us.
So the person that just set fire to their apartment slash other apartments is an example. Do you think this person, I don't know if it was he or she, got enough services? Because I've been hearing for 4 or 5 years, let's do it, don't worry, people are going to get services, but are they getting services? Do you think that they're getting enough services? I'm not being a lawyer or anything, I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to speak about an individual case, but what we do know is that we will have a shortfall in 2017 in the resources needed for services. We have state funding that's ending in this year. We have ARPA fund that's ending in this year, some of which is providing that supportive services. That is a key concern that we have going into this next year.
Well, I get we don't have any other options, but if we have less services and we keep putting these individuals in, obviously Bluebird is the best option for us, which we also don't have, but it's really not a great situation for a lot of people, women with kids.
Yes.
So,
And
but
if I could
I realize it's hard.
If I could just tie that to Council Members Adams' question about government funding as well. We're also seeing a reduction in the number of vouchers. We will have less vouchers available in the coming couple of years.
Thanks for that info, Kurt. Rob?
Thanks. I'll try to consolidate this question. It's about the scattered site acquisitions. How do you find them? Are there any incentives for homeowners to sell them to you? Once you have them, if zoning permits, do you ever duplex or triplex them? And are they, is it an option to bring in mod homes to place on there for energy efficiency and just building efficiency in general? A lot of questions, sorry.
Yeah, I'll try to keep track. So we have a staff member that finds them, identifies the homes on the market to potentially purchase using a variety of different qualifiers. Second question was?
Is there any incentive for
There
a
are no
homeowner?
incentives, no. It's just buying them, purchasing them on the open market, a unit on the open market like any other buyer. So I think the incentive for the buyer is that they're getting a market, they're selling their unit at a market rate. So no, there's no incentive.
Can I just add a little bit? So there is a slight incentive. We're able to pay cash, which is a pretty big incentive.
Okay.
The other is they know it's going into the affordable housing program, so we've been able to negotiate slightly lower prices because they know it's going to a future family. So.
And then I'll say that we typically look for units that don't need extensive rehab work to help get them into our program quicker. And so I don't think we've really explored the idea of duplexing, because that's like a major project that would probably quite intensive resource needs for that. And then for the mod, using the mod, these are just existing units. So this wouldn't, using modular units wouldn't be a useful tool for this specific
Gotcha.
program.
I just didn't know if you got something in really rough shape that was going to be a tear down.
Just like tear down? No, I don't.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, I got a quick one, then I'll go back to Mark, which is we had a couple questions related to cash in lieu before, and just wanted to drill into the benefit that can be provided by that, because our inclusionary housing requirements are 25%, but we're getting 37% affordable housing produced. Is it fair to say that we get more affordable housing because people pay cash in lieu than if they didn't?
Absolutely, yes. So I would say that our preference is that developers pay cash because we can produce more units using that cash than if they were to produce those units on site even.
So people paying cash in lieu is what enables us to get to that very high level, 37%, that we would not be able to get to otherwise.
And it helps support our ownership purchases as well as serving people well below 60% of AMI.
Great, thanks for clarifying. Oh, I didn't mean to start a whole line of inquiry, but Matt and then Taisha.
Can I ask perhaps the inverse of that question? I totally understand how that 37 units gets us good bang for the buck for the affordable housing. But is it also fair to say that what that creates is a cost structure that then also generates a lot of the housing we don't want in our community in terms of high-end luxury apartments and townhomes?
I'm not sure I would agree with that. I think the prices are still going to be high. I think Boulder has a history of exclusivity that Holly mentioned, so I think people are going to pay what the market is demanding.
Okay, and Taisha, you also had a follow-up question?
Well, it was, yeah, just a comment around multiple metrics of success, right? And so, although I appreciate the metric of that 30 whatever percent, the lived experience and the reality is it's not enough. And unfortunately, it also creates monochronic socioeconomic neighborhoods, which evidence is very strong that it's the learning outcomes, the health outcomes, all of these things actually are negative when you have monochronic communities. And so I just would love us to, I'm thinking of when we had that community conversation or something downstairs with the businesses, and Adriana was there from Luna Cultural, and she was talking, you remember, and she was talking about, although we appreciate these, financial driven metrics of success, it would be wonderful there if there was also kind of quality of life assessments. And I would also argue there is less, not only socioeconomic diversity, but there's also intergenerational less diversity when we have market rate versus when we have mixed income. So I just, again, as we're thinking about housing, I encourage us to also include other metrics of success, like quality of life, to ensure that we're not isolating and celebrating ourselves on a metric that unfortunately can give negative consequences. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. All right, Mark, thanks for your patience as we worked through other people's questions. We'll come back to you, and you can have the final question.
Very good. These will be quick. The 2014 survey was 12 years ago. Any possibility of updating it? People's preferences for housing change over time? Any thought given to that?
No, it just takes resources and time. But
I'm sorry?
That's definitely, just takes resources and time.
Okay.
So it's a question of, go ahead, Kurt.
So Mark, the other survey that we do every 5 years is the consolidated plan, which is a federal requirement, and that has a survey in it. We do our team does the consolidated plan for Boulder and Broomfield County. And so we also have data that comes out of that, but it's more at the regional level.
Okay, asked and answered. I note that we produce mobile home units at about a third the rate of their production nationally. Any possibilities for ultimately developing a municipally owned, a new municipally owned mobile home community, manufactured home community? Any thought given to that?
I mean, you need land, something that's a little bit scarce in Boulder, but the planning reserve is always a potential.
Okay, well, that leads to my last question. Chris? One last question. Can we get a copy of the inventory of city-owned land that we referred to earlier?
I will find out if that is in a clean, compiled way that is readable or not, and I will get back to you.
Thank you, and that's it.
All right, so that's it for all the questions. All right, quiet everybody, we're finishing up here. So thanks so much. Thanks for the presentations. Thanks for answering all the questions, and thanks for the incredible work that you all are doing for the city and our residents every single day. All right, and with that brings us to the end of our agenda. So I will, you have you have something you want to bring up, Taisha?
Yes. It's not something I want to bring up. I wanted to just acknowledge the Ramadan declaration, and also there was an invitation by our IBC, I'm sorry, it's past 9 o'clock, but there was an invitation to go to the mosque for community for non-Muslims and Muslims on Saturday. So if there are council members or staff and leadership that would be interested in joining, it would be a really wonderful way to have cultural exchange and to meet. I believe the mosque has 50 different ethnicities represented there, and the food is always wonderful, and the families are lovely. So if you can make it, it would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and gavel us closed at 9:05 p.m., half an hour early. Thanks, everybody, for